Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy.
See that Texas OU game
last week? I hate you so much right now, Nolan.
Holy shit, it was insane.
This is the podcast. We're starting the shit show right now. Whew. We should no longer do pre-shows because we can't stop.
They're not
talking,
pre-shows. We're
apparently.
just hanging out.
I know. And when we hang out,
I think
we talk.
Nick's saying we shouldn't hang out.
Yeah, we shouldn't. We should just stop hanging out like completely. Right? Am I right?
Well, no. If you hang out more outside of the podcast, then you get all the small talk bullshit out of the way.
Right, Nick?
You're right.
Nick?
You're right. Well, you know what? Everybody out there in the world, welcome to the show. This is episode 574 of 4Player Podcast. My name is Nick Henderson. I am, of course, joined this evening by Brad Simons.
What the fuck is up?
Nolan Hedstrom.
How's it going, everybody?
Christopher Guthridge.
What up?
And our producer, Christopher Davis.
Hello, hello.
All right. Now that we've gotten that out of the way,
we don't have to hear from him again.
Now that that's going to become like a thing now.
What'd you say? I couldn't hear you, Chris.
All right, Chris Davis is here, and he's muted. And then he gives us the finger, and that's how we know everything is going normally. That's just how it happens now.
Let's talk about Venom. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, my God. We do have some stuff to talk about tonight, guys. Of course, a little bit of housekeeping real quick. I did mention a couple weeks ago that we were planning on doing a Halloween stream or special event, if you will, on the feed. And I think we finally kind of nailed that down. It's going to be October 20th, it's Saturday, and we're going to be doing, starting at noon, it's going to be, tentatively speaking, noon to midnight. It could go beyond that, but at the very least, noon to midnight. We'll all be in the room together. We'll all be playing horror games of all kinds. We're trying to put together a preliminary list of the games that we're going to be playing. In fact, we're going to be reaching out to some of you on social media, on Twitter, and Discord, to our supporters on Patreon to give us some ideas of what games we could play. Obviously, we're going to be looking for stuff that is good for the feed, good for having multiple people in the room, that kind of thing.
Henry's going to be here. He's going to be wearing his Halloween outfit. Is anybody else dressing up?
Sure. Yeah, we can probably dress up. I mean, it is Halloween. We did do this a few years ago, and it was a lot of fun. We're not committing to the 24-hour marathon, but we are going to we're going to go till midnight at least. And I know a few of us are probably planning on just barreling straight through it and going as long as we can. But we are going to be playing a bunch of stuff, and I do think we're going to have some horror VR experiences there too. And I think there's going to be some Resident Evil 7 in there as well in VR, which should be fun. But like I said, keep your eyes on social media and in Discord, because we're going to be asking you guys what games you want to see us play during that event. And again, that's going to be October 20th at noon.
Please, we're serious about that, because none of us here really follow a lot of the cool indie. We don't watch PewDiePie. I know some of y'all probably do. What has he been playing
And
lately?
not to mention,
Actually,
there's a lot of stuff.
There's
a lot of stuff over the years that we've played, and maybe and you know, outside of that stuff, maybe we're probably missing some stuff. I know there's some cool indie horror experiences out there. There's some stuff I know that's in early access that could be really cool for us to play. And maybe some stuff that's recently come out of early access that we just haven't gotten around to checking out. So, like I said, we will be reaching out to you guys on social media and in Discord to see what games y'all might want to see us play. So hopefully you guys will join us for that. While I am talking about Discord, I do want to mention, obviously, if you have not yet joined our community Discord, we'd love to have you in there. It's absolutely free. It's a great way to keep in touch with us, with the community, talk about video games, talk about weird random shit all the time. So you can find us at discord.gg/4player. And thank you to everyone who's watching us live. We always do record these podcasts on Thursday nights.
When are we officially going to fire Crispy?
For what?
We've been thinking about it for a couple of years now.
It's another strike.
Do it, man.
It's like those kids in high school, though. Their phone in their
me.
lap, and they're like, the teacher clearly doesn't know I'm looking at my phone.
I was looking at something related to the show.
What was you looking at?
I can't tell you.
Oh, okay.
It will come up, though.
Oh, will it?
It was somebody's idiotic comment about Venom the movie.
Terrible.
Also, I do want to... there's two things. One, two things community related 2 things community related I want to just get out there now. I do want to announce the winner for our giveaway for October. I reached out to him, haven't heard back from him yet, but if you're watching us live, I don't think he is, but Haas3000. Haas3000 left us a comment on a podcast last month, and he was drawn, so we'll be reaching out to him to gift him a game.
Was he quartered too?
Was he what?
Quartered?
No.
You said he was drawn.
You're right. He was not drawn and quartered. I drew his name out of a hat, Nolan.
Do we have a hat?
Way to make this dark.
Well, you said it.
Sorry. By hat, I mean random number generator.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Haas3000, thank you. Congratulations. We'll be reaching out to you soon. You can pick a game of your choosing up to a $60 value, and we will gift it to you. And that's just for participating and being a part of the conversation on a weekly basis. So thank you for that. And Brad is leaving the couch for some reason. Oh, he's grabbing a hat. He's grabbing a Mario hat. Look at that. And in the second segment, we are going to be... I mentioned last week that we updated our Patreon campaign, and we added a new $3 tier, and we picked our first supporter spotlight, which we're going to be reading some responses from in the second segment. Kay and Cito is our supporter of our supporter spotlight, or supporter of the month, if you will, for the month of October. We asked him some gaming related questions. We'll be seeing what he had to say in the second segment, so stay tuned for that. Without further ado, though, let's get into feedback, because we had a good show last week. We talked about some Valkyria Chronicles, some Dragon Quest. Let's see what people had to say. Which Chris Davis said he had prepared.
I do.
Calm
your tits.
My tits are calm. We're waiting. Ah, there we go. Okay. Thank you, Chris Davis. Much appreciated. Our first feedback comes from Nannerpuss.
Yeah. His name's Nanner.
Puss. Nannerpuss. Nannerpuss says, listening to the conversation about the Witcher author, the impression I get is people are making fun of him because he made the worst decision you can possibly make when licensing your property out to someone. You should always take a percentage over a lump sum. To me, it didn't seem like people were mad at him because he wanted what he thought he was owed. It was more of, you made a dumb decision and now you have to deal with the consequences kind of deal.
I don't know. I'm 99% sure there are plenty of people out there who took a percentage deal and ended up getting like nothing.
Yeah.
Yes. In hindsight's 2020. When something succeeds and you took a percentage, everything's great. When something fails and you took a percentage, you're like, oh, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And so I mean, this does. The reason I was saying he was not owed as much as he wanted was because he, put down an entire industry. He was like, gaming is stupid. There's no way you could do anything successful with it.
He took the lump sum because he didn't have faith in.
He was a cranky old man.
Yeah, and you know what? I think the problem, and this is, I can't speak for everybody out there. I think we had some problems with the way people addressed the situation in general. Mm-hmm. I think the bigger issue is really just how he chose to address it, or how he chose to kind of respond to, because we talked about how CD Projekt Red even came back with a counter offer and said, hey, we'd like to accommodate, try to accommodate you, and here's our counter offer. And he was like, nah, fuck that, I want the full amount, which seems kind of selfish in hindsight, I suppose. But I don't know. Crispy, you have a thought?
I think he had a point. I mean, have you ever fucking seen video games?
Yeah, no.
Like, they suck.
I mean, anime wasn't
maybe maybe they did in Poland at the time.
Yeah.
Do they suck? I don't think they suck. I mean, we do a podcast about them. I don't think they suck. Anyways, let's move on from that. Let's get as far away from that conversation as possible.
Agreed.
Equack says, I enjoyed the conversation you guys had about.
God damn it!
First of all, I'm not going to say the author's name because
I think he's a stupid doo-doo head.
He says there was a similar reaction to the news that Randy Pitchford's assistant stole millions from him. Apparently, he deserved it because Colonial Marines was bad.
A thing?
Yeah, there was a.
Wait, what?
I don't know this. First of all, don't ask me the specifics on that story.
But hold on,
so terrible.
But what are the specifics on that?
$3 million was stolen from him by some assistant who was ripping off a bunch of Dallas Elite or something.
Was he like siphoning pennies at a time? I don't know.
And the reaction on the internet among the gaming community, who was full of trash people, was essentially that Randy Pitchford deserved that because he made a bad video game once.
Hey,
a couple questions here,
Stick
Nick.
it to the bourgeoisie.
You have the details. Did this assistant steal it from Randy Pitchford or from Gearbox?
We don't. From Randy Pitchford personally.
I think it's
like
Randy,
out of his pockets.
None of us know.
Crispy,
the
you
details.
can't carry cash. This is what happens when you carry cash. People steal $3 million from you.
I also don't go outside.
Oh,
so that'll show you, world. Anyway,
That's where Randy made his mistake. He left his house.
also in episode 572, which is last week's, you guys answered a question about good platformers released in the last 10 years. You listed over 20 games, not bad, but no one said Super Meat Boy. I thought you were intentionally trolling.
I remember somebody saying Super
Brad
Meat Boy.
specifically brought up Meat Boy. I think not in the sense that he was that was not one of the games he listed off as like.
A lot of us here are fans of Super Meat Boy.
But he compared something to Super Meat Boy.
So we're all talking.
Yeah, he compared Celeste to Super Meat Boy, which I think is kind of a roundabout way of saying Super Meat Boy, I suppose. Also, I have a hard time thinking of I know Super Meat Boy is a platformer, but I don't tend to think of it in the same genre.
That is absolutely like all it is.
I know, but like.
There's nothing else to that game.
But I really, maybe it's just that I really enjoy platformers, but like nothing about Super Meat Boy like speaks to me. Like it seems like the most frustrating experience. Personally,
yeah, it is.
So like, and I tend to think of platformers as very like light fare.
Like a baby
comforting.
game.
It's just the way it was chopped up.
A baby game. Have you played Spyro?
I love Spyro. Yeah.
There you go.
No, I mean I just tend to gravitate more towards like platformers that are a little more chill. And Super Meat Boy just seems like super fucking.
Play Celeste. Celeste is not chill. It's very difficult, but it's
it gives you chill vibes.
Imagine if Meat Boy was like, trying to come to grips and struggling with like depression. That would be Celeste.
The music's good and it looks good, and it's slower than Meat Boy.
Cool.
I would check it out.
That is a 2018 game, isn't it?
No,
2017. Celeste.
No, Celeste is this year.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what is this year?
Yeah, it came out in January.
Okay, well, I guess that's why then. That was January. Yeah, January was a very long time ago.
Yeah.
So it does feel like a long time. But yes, Nick, try that out before the end of the year.
I will add it to my list
really
of mini games to try before the end of the year. Drew327 says, quick Dragon Quest 11 follow-up. I work from home and sometimes leave the PS4 running, so the music was driving me nuts, because he did say last week he had to turn off the music. Brad asked something like, why this game? What makes it special? Why is...
Dragon Quest
while it is a pretty typical JRPG, random boy saving the world, it has been simply epic at times. Some of the cutscenes make me go, yeah! That was my best way of reading that. Sorry. Also, Nolan, you can respec individual branches of the tree, like knives or whips. So not as.
I did make a boo boo last week when I mentioned, or 2 weeks ago, I guess I mentioned that when you respec someone, you respec their entire tree. That is not accurate. As I did respec one of my characters, you respec every character has a selection of things they can use.
Yeah.
The main character can use swords, great swords. Maybe knives or something, and a couple of different things. And so when you go to respec someone, you don't have to respec their entire tree. You choose one of those. You choose all of them if you want, but you individually. So I just want to...
Because it doesn't make sense to have some in one weapon versus another, right?
I mean, it kind of doesn't. So if at one point you wanted to, hey, I've been using knives and I want to switch to like boomerangs, you could literally just delete all of knives but leave like the other, like every character has like weapons and they have like abilities kind of.
Yeah.
Like the main character has the luminary abilities and like Sylvando has like I don't remember all their names, like almost like showmanship or something.
So you can respec like certain branches, is
correct.
What you're saying? Okay, gotcha. Cool. Well, thank you for the clarification. Also, can you scroll up a little bit more, Chris? I think there was one more thing he said that I didn't read.
No, that was it.
Nope, that was pretty much okay. Uranium Bullet has our last bit of feedback. He says, hearing about that Harry Potter RPG's features makes me wish Chris Avallone was doing the writing for it instead of Dying Light 2. To those who don't know, listening or watching, he was responsible for Baldur's Gate, KOTOR 2, Fallout New Vegas, and most recently Pathfinder Kingmaker, Into the Breach, and Prey.
Also Planescape Torment.
Yeah, we've talked about Chris Avallone before. He's a pretty prolific game writer, I guess, in the industry. And he is currently working on the story for Dying Light 2, which makes me, as a fan of that game, makes me pretty excited. I would love to see that game get a cool... I would love that when that game comes out, it's a game that we look back on and talk about the story as part of it, because I think it deserves a good story to go along with like some of those really great mechanics that we talked about so much when the first one came out. He says the entirety of it just seems like the perfect Obsidian game in general. And news topic, Microsoft is aiming to buy them. Yes, we will be talking about that in the second segment. He also says, yes, Dragon Quest XI's music is annoying. I wasn't even the one playing it. My roommate was. I have the overworld and battle music still stuck in my head. Man, it is a lot of people are talking about that music being
Yeah,
ridiculous.
ever since
Which
release.
sucks because like
in fact,
that's
ever
one of the
since it
reasons
came
I've
out
been
in
looking
Japan.
that's one of the reasons I've been looking forward to playing it so much because I have fond memories of the music in Dragon Quest VIII, and I was really hoping that I would really get into it.
This is.
It's just not enough.
It was
of
beloved in 8. It's been kind of universally dumped on in this game.
Man, that
Yeah.
sucks.
it does suck.
It's one of those scenarios where the music is not bad. You just hear it a lot.
Gotcha.
And it's just one of those things
It
where
can't be worse than Blue Dragon, right?
I never played Blue Dragon.
Dude,
so I don't
Blue
know.
Dragon has the worst battle music ever.
You're thinking of that boss battle song. And,
Yes, the boss battle.
But that was just a weird, quirky thing.
Yeah, but that
think
was
the
one of
overall
that was
soundtrack
one of the few times
very-
where a soundtrack made me stop playing a game.
Interesting.
Doesn't happen often, but that is one I will never forget.
But didn't the 360 give the ability to swap out game?
Oh my fucking...
Brad,
Fuck you of the week.
Brad
I'm
misses
saying
that.
it right now. Dragon Quest blocks Spotify.
Oh, that sucks.
Because when you start that game, it's like the entire game is this scene. You know, you can't... It gives you that message about this scene is not
can't
available
stream
for
it.
recording.
Yeah.
It does that for the whole fucking game.
Yeah.
And it blocks Spotify. So I can't even play music from other, like, games
Why
to
would they do
replace
that?
the sound. Oh my god.
Like, why would they block?
Because that composer is like super... I mean,
It might have been part of the agreement to get him to do the game.
I mean, he's
first.
a
You
huge
never
piece
know.
of shit, right?
No, but people also call him a huge piece of shit from the way he like handles his music because he had the orchestral version of this soundtrack that he composed, but he refused to put it in the game because he knew he would sell more copies of his soundtrack, the orchestral soundtrack, that way if it wasn't in the game. That's why there's only MIDI in the fucking game.
So dumb.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's
There's
really
not
weird.
MIDI in my game.
It's weird that he's like the only composer that would have that kind of hang up.
And it sucks
seems
too
like.
because anyone who's playing that game on PS4, it doesn't even have the option of using the orchestral soundtrack, which sucks.
Nope.
Super sucks. Anyways, thank you guys very much for your feedback from last week. Of course, if you leave feedback or comment on any post for a podcast throughout the month, it does enter you in the drawing. Who, like I said, Haas 3000 is our winner for the month. So if you have anything you want to say after tonight's episode, head on over to 4playernetwork.com, drop us a comment on the post for this episode, and we'll get to it at the start of next show. All right, let's get into it. We've got some fucking video games to discuss. As you can probably tell, I do really want to talk about Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I don't know where y'all want to take it.
But first, so we are talking about Assassin's
I mean, we can take it.
I played a lot of Assassin's Creed Origins last year. This is a follow-up to that. Somebody...
What's up, Nick?
No, Nick, you talk.
I get...
You really liked Assassin's Creed Origins. This is the...
I don't want this... Like, I have a tendency when I start talking about Assassin's Creed to, like... I feel like when I start talking about Assassin's Creed, everyone kind of
stop talking. Stop talking.
I will say, Nick, that I think the best part of Odyssey is when you throw the hat on the enemy and you become...
I know, I love that.
Yeah, I like
It's
that one.
And the
really good.
soundtrack, Odyssey.
Actually, I thought
ESC,
Odyssey was a little overrated.
Odyssey.
There's been a lot of things.
Yeah.
But anyway, so...
So Origins was kind of like a soft reboot for the series.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah,
was
it
more
was.
open. It was more of an RPG. They completely changed the combat. This is the evolution of that.
Yes.
Except instead of Egypt, you're in the Greek Isles and
All right, there we go. That's the game. Let's move on.
that's Odyssey. You
That
can
is
play
it.
a man or a lady. There's a dialogue system. And that's pretty much it.
Do you like 300?
Oh,
or
man,
do
maybe
you
I
like
shouldn't have
Wonder
asked you
Woman?
guys to lead this conversation.
Do you like 300? There's a 300 kick.
There's
You're
also...
a Spartan.
The game literally...
what
oh my
else?
God. Brad,
Is there a golden lasso I can find in this
the
game?
ship combat from Assassin's Creed Black Flag
swear to
that makes
God.
a return in a big way.
If
Guys,
if they leaned
I've
into
never-
that and they if there's like a special weapon at the end of the game you can get that's a golden lasso, like I would lose
I
my
am
shit.
never asking you to lead a conversation.
Some of the trailers showed mythical beasts such as a Gorgon.
Okay, Brad. Oh my God.
What's...
You've completely derailed us. We haven't even started talking about it already.
He's saying
I'm
true
setting it up.
things.
I'm explaining.
I'm pretty sure those are all facts.
Those are all true.
bullet points,
Who
man.
here's been
Nick,
playing?
Nick,
Pop.
what do you think about this game so far? Nick, are you enjoying
I
Assassin's
played
Creed?
probably about 6
Are you enjoying it
hours
more
myself.
than our Origins?
Okay. First of all, Origins was one of my favorite games from last year.
Sure. I remember.
And I think a lot of that had to do with outside of the obvious mechanical improvements they made. Like, honestly, as far as I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan, but like if anybody said, "Hey, I'm going to start playing Assassin's Creed, where should I start?" I would honestly at this point just say start with Origins, because mechanically speaking,
That's weird. That's weird, Nick. That's weird.
You
Is it
pronounced
weird?
two
It's kinda weird,
really
Nick.
weird.
No, the enhancements they made to like the way the game plays are so dramatic in Origins that I feel like it would be almost impossible to go back and enjoy it.
I do like the
oh, yeah.
combat in this more than I do like the combat in any of the other games. I think.
well, okay.
But the exception of Brotherhood, when you could throw the big swords.
Okay, Crispy has something to retort.
I actually like kind of feel the opposite of that. Not necessarily about the combat. The combat, like actual like getting into sword fights with people, is a lot better now
that's what
than
I
it's
said.
ever been.
Yeah.
But I feel like that came at the cost of the stealth assassin stuff, because that stuff doesn't seem as good now.
Oh, dude, I
And-
completely disagree.
Dude, I don't
Hey,
know,
hey,
man.
fight!
Like
Can it fight?
lumping in the RPG progression with like the assassin stuff has made it so that most
I see what you're
situations I've found, it's way more efficient just to like pull a sword out and
Okay.
start fighting people
It
than it
depends
is
on
to
what
try
you
to be an
put your
assassin.
skill points
Okay, first of
into,
all, I
think.
will say this.
I've been focusing really heavy on the assassin tree, and it's still like
There's a
shaky.
weird thing about this becoming an RPG means there's like a scaling
Yeah.
to like enemy levels. I mean, kind of God of War had issues with this as it became more of an RPG where depending on what your level versus the enemy level is, that sort of exchange just doesn't work like it used to in the older games, because they take into consideration your level, your equipment, your skill points. It's just very different.
One thing I've always felt about older Assassin's
And I
Creed
get
games
that.
is that they never nailed the actual, like they never mechanically nailed the act of being an assassin. Like I've always felt like everything felt super scripted.
You can't
and, like,
crouch in
not a
this
lot of
one.
freedom to like do like.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Assassin, the only one that strangely enough, the only one that I've never played to completion aside from Rogue,
Unity.
Unity. Like that was the first one I remember feeling like, oh, they're actually adding like.
That's when they introduced the
ability-
crouch, right?
but like,
yeah, I think so.
Are you talking about like mechanically, like the act of the stealth mechanics and like assassinating people didn't feel assassiny, or are you talking about like the pretense and the setup of the whole situation where
Both.
in previous games you were kind of just following a story and parts of that story would ask you to assassinate somebody instead of like doing the other stuff? Because I can see where they tried to do that, like with the cult and everything. Like there's that whole cult system where you're trying to figure out who these people are and then you have to go assassinate them, and that's neat. But like I feel like in practice it just equates to another fetch quest, where once I get to the location of that fetch quest, I have to deal with the game's subpar assassin mechanics.
Subpar assassin mechanic. Oh my
Subpar for the series, man. Like
I
I
think
think
it's
previous
stronger than
games
it's ever
had
been.
the assassin mechanics way better.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know, man. Like everything I've encountered in this game, all the gear I've been picking up, all the like missions I've been encountering, have really been encouraging like an overt swing your sword
first
at
of all,
dude's
I wanna
face
ask
kind
a
of
quick
I
question.
do want to say
application.
this game is in part. It was this way kind of in Origins too, but this is the first game I feel like where there's straight up you can make builds in this game. There's warrior,
Yeah.
hunter, and
Yeah,
assassin,
that's true. That's a good
and
question.
you can like at this point, if something hurts my assassin, like the damage level of my assassin attacks and abilities, I don't equip it. Even if it like improves everything else with my character, if it inversely affects my assassin rating, I don't equip it.
I'm gonna put a pin in what you just said, but let Nolan talk.
Yeah.
So I've not played Odyssey. I played maybe 20 hours of Origins, but like I'm confused as to why this game makes you feel like an assassin more than previous games. I mean, at least in this footage we've been watching tonight, all I've seen you do is just murder a bunch of people. Whereas I feel like
Yes, that's kind of how I've been
hold
playing
on,
the game
but
too.
I feel like in older Assassin's Creed games, it was more of it could have been a technical limitation as to why they did this, but it was more of a stealth was a bigger mechanic, in that it was, hey, hide in the shadows, hide in the crowds, sneak out, stab a guy, drift back into the crowds to not be seen. Kind
okay,
of.
well,
It's a
first
And
different kind of
you
stuff.
you can do that.
It's just
but
a
like,
different kind.
But like the targets that really matter,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't work as well. Like you can totally do that with like little guys, but there's no. What I'm saying is like there doesn't seem to be much reward for preparation going after a tougher target. Like if there's a big brute of a mercenary that I'm trying to take down, there should be an inroad for me to prepare and assassinate him very cleanly and very quickly without having like I shouldn't have to face him in combat where he obviously has an edge because I'm an assassin, right? Like that's how I would be.
The thing is,
but the game, the way the scaling and the skills work, it's harder to assassinate him than it would be anybody else.
I will say this: I do honestly think to get that kind of experience, it's kind of designed, and maybe to its detriment, it's designed to like. A lot of those kinds of targets are better left until after you've completed the main story. Because if you've played the game enough and you've leveled up your assassin abilities high enough, most enemies will be a 1 or 2 hit kill.
It really does. Hang on, I've been waiting. Hang on, I'm still like 4 points back with Nick here. To answer that, yes, I agree, but that also kind of facilitates a situation where I'm playing to the leveling system, and I'm basically just saying like, okay, every number I see on screen, I want to be 2 numbers ahead of that before I do the thing I want to do, which is weird. It's kind of weird that that system's even a thing if I'm going to just like ignore it like that. And to go back to your point earlier where you were talking about you don't equip things that like lower your assassin's skill, I'm trying to play like that too, but it's also kind of odd when I look at my stats. My assassin damage is like 10 times higher than any other, like than my hunter or my fighter damage. So it like I don't even know what the threshold is. Like I don't even know what I'm trying to avoid. It's like I don't want like I feel like if I do anything that's to the detriment of my assassin skill, then my assassin moves don't work as well, but they're already 10 times more powerful than my hunter or my warrior skills. So like, what am I shooting for?
The thing is, if you're playing as a hunter or a warrior, it really, like, the assassin gameplay that we've been talking about kind of is not even, goes out the window. It's not even kind of the, like, that is not the way the gameplay is. The gameplay is, at that point, is tailored towards people who want to go into combat swinging swords and just getting into fights. Like, like, the whole like being an assassin in this game is like so downplayed as far as like from a story. Like you're not an assassin like the traditional assassin in the story.
Yeah. Can I say related?
You are a
related to that.
You're a mercenary.
Can I say related to that? I wanted to ask y'all: is it possible or reasonable to play this game without doing any stealth at all? Because I don't want to sneak around. I don't want to pull out my bird. I don't want to tag enemies. I don't want to do any stealth attacks. I just want to go in and fight dudes. One, because I think the fighting is actually pretty good, and two, because
the game is
they
more
waste so much
accommodating
time, and you're going to end up in a brawl anyway.
Do a warrior build, and
the game is way more accommodating.
If I play through this game, it's going to be as complete warrior build because I don't want to do any sneaking.
I mean, that is part of the improvement. Like you can play it that way if you want. You can tailor the gameplay to however you want to play it. I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect, but yes, that is definitely an option. Nolan has a question. He's been waiting a bit. What?
Maybe I don't know. Was the assassin warrior? What was the other one? Hunter. Was that a thing in Origins?
No.
Okay, so good. I'm glad I don't know anything about this. So
yeah, in Origins, it was more focused on what kind of weapons you equip.
Sure.
So like, if you wanted to play as a quote unquote hunter, you would probably focus mainly on bows. Like bows and stuff.
Okay, so that's my question. What the fuck is assassin, warrior, hunter?
So you have 3 different skill trees, and depending on what you like, what kinds of like, if you some equipment you equip will actually like. So you have 3 different. You have in addition to the 3 skill trees you have 3 different sets of damage.
Like in the footage here, he's got poison on his spear. That's an assassin ability.
Yeah. Okay. So like when you go into the menu at the bottom, it says hunter, warrior, and assassin.
Sure.
And there's a number that pertains to the amount of damage that you do in each one of those.
Okay.
So if you're equipped with if you have a high warrior build and you have a sword or an axe or something equipped, you'll do a lot more damage than that than if you were trying to use an assassin weapon, which would be like a spear. If you had like a spear or a mace or something like that, like you would do far less damage if you were trying to use that while you had it.
Your equipment bonuses are like
stats.
Are they absolutely necessary to pretty much just to specialize? It almost seems like why if you're fighting, why would you not do all warrior damage on your equipment? Kind of like Diablo 3 stats or something.
It just depends on how you want to play, because like I'm playing like I didn't do it in this footage because I was trying to get clean footage, but like typically if I go into an encounter where I'm trying to assassinate someone or I'm trying to clear out one of these camps or something, like if I get spotted too quickly, like if I get spotted before I take out like half of the people there, I usually reload.
You're not a very good
really
assassin.
Yeah,
but I definitely don't want to.
But
play
it doesn't happen very often because I've been specking as an assassin and it doesn't really.
I'm content to go like full warrior build because I think
Wait,
I think
you've
that's
been
fun.
playing this game like that?
Yeah.
That is insane, Nick. Why are you doing that?
Because I want to play as an assassin.
I know,
and I
but
want to
like
assassinate
even
people.
like the game has more of like I will give them this, like there's some assassin abilities that do kind of facilitate that more like hit and run tactics
Disengage,
more so
is
like
possible?
like you've got that smoke bomb thing that like blinds everybody for like a minute.
It also depends on how. I've kind of flipped around depending on what I have equipped. Because when I was running with the thing where the smoke bomb or the distraction thing, I would never reload. And honestly, I don't reload very often. But like there are some like this particular encampment I'm doing here. There's like a ridiculous number of people in this thing. Like a ridiculous number. Like to the point where if I want to like quietly assassinate someone, like it's almost never gonna happen. And I managed to get in there and assassinate the dude in this one. But then and this is actually a problem I have with the game is that like. I want to play the game as an assassin. I like the feel of going into like sneaking into a place, finding my target, taking him out, and then leaving. But the only way to quote unquote clear this camp is to kill everybody, or at least kill the captains and take down the. There's like several smaller sub objectives per encampment, like burning these resources and finding loot and stuff. But they had like this camp has like 6 captains walking around or lieutenants.
What
so
the fuck was that?
That's an assassin ability.
ability.
You can throw the spear when it hits them, like
It teleports.
It teleports
you
you across.
basically.
It doesn't actually teleport you. You run
just
real
show up,
fast.
yeah.
You show. It's the way it's cut.
It's called
Yeah.
it's called Assassin Rush, I think is what it's called.
And you can chain that too a couple times.
And this is something that Origins did that this game continues with that I really enjoy is that like they've created a bunch of or not a bunch but like there's a lot of skills that you can unlock, and some of them are so kind of out there, but like they did them anyways because they're fun to use. And like everything is kind of designed because like they didn't not put something in the game because it didn't make sense. They were just like, this is a cool idea, this is fun to use, we're putting it in there.
That's sort of their motto with this one, right? It's like
I mean, and
it's like this is like a less restrained Origins, like
But like,
more
I would-
gamey, more fun, right?
But like, I don't even think Origins was that restrained. Like there is some cool shit in Origins too, like the fact that you could like steer the arrows and stuff and like move
yeah,
it doesn't
that's
make
in
any
this
sense
game.
at all.
And I got it, but
That
it
is
wasn't very
cool.
good.
I wish it was better.
It doesn't control
think
like
it
it
was-
does in Heavenly Sword.
No,
and I was
Heavenly
a little
Sword,
sad.
you controlled it with the
Oh, that was so good.
Yeah, no, that was good.
There are a couple abilities in here where it's like on paper that's an amazing ability, but the actual like handling of it is
Yeah, it's a
leaves
little
something to
clunky.
be desired.
Little
And at the
clunky.
beginning of this conversation, you asked me if I like this better than Origins, and I feel like that's kind of a complicated question for me because one,
Egypt
right
is
out
so
of the
much
gate,
cooler.
Egypt is like one of the things I've been waiting for the longest, and it's it's easily my favorite setting they've ever
This
done.
isn't in Egypt.
And this does, first of all, I'm enjoying it more than I was expecting because I thought it was going to feel too similar to like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which in Rome.
Why?
Just
Rome and
I know,
Greece are different.
I know
places.
they're-
separated by like hundreds of years.
I know
He's talking
but,
about
like,
Assassin's Creed
just-
2 Brotherhood, right?
No, I'm talking literally about like
Oh,
the
literal
geography
Brotherhood.
the geography of the world.
Takes
I've
place in a
always felt
different
like,
country.
I know, God, fuck all of you. Okay, let's move
Keep
on.
going. No, keep going. Nick. Seriously,
done.
why did you
I'm
think
not-
it was going to be too similar to 2?
Because to me, in my head, like Rome and Greece, while I know they're different, they're separated by hundreds of years, like you said. Like geographically speaking, I feel like they're very similar aesthetically.
Wow.
Even their architecture is very similar.
You just offended a lot of Greeks.
Oh my!
I'm joking.
Hey, here.
Are you comparing the Parthenon to the Pantheon, Nick? Dude,
Two different things.
Hey,
Fuck all of you.
Zeus and Jupiter,
he's
two
not-
different
he's not
gods.
fucking
I
wrong.
played 3 games.
I mean, I
played
kinda see
3
what he's
games
saying.
in it.
Nick, we're just fucking with you because we
yeah.
love you.
I kind of see what he's saying. I mean, Egypt felt really
Egypt was
unique.
the reason why I was so fucking excited about Assassin's Creed 3 is because I thought that was a huge departure from
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed
Give
2,
us the feudal Japan, please.
Brotherhood and Revelations. Egypt was a huge departure from those 3 games.
I see what you're saying.
And now I feel like they kind of went back to something very similar.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was modern Greece, it'd be better.
Hey, how about we flow into a new conversation about
Modern
Assassin's Creed by breaking it up with a little aside by yours truly. I think one of the most insane things to me about this game is a small thing, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's insane. The UI in this game is so stupid. Origins was the same way. They tried to copy Destiny, but they missed the point completely. And
Wait,
the thing
the
is,
menus?
I'm talking about the menus and the fact that you move a cursor around to select things.
A lot of
It
games are
missed.
doing that lately.
You're right. Pyre did it, but it actually copied Destiny. Like there is something that Destiny was doing that was kind of cool and different and like and subtle, and that's that when you move the cursor in the direction, the screen moved in the opposite direction. So
everything moved faster. I guess
it looked far away, but when you started moving that cursor, it got there quickly.
Yeah.
But Assassin's Creed forgets that you're supposed to move the screen in the opposite direction, so you just have this really awkward cursor you move around, and you can't use the D-pad to select things. So it feels like, oh, this one used to be a PC game, and we're just gonna throw it on console, and for the UI, we'll just have them sluggishly move around a cursor. It's insane to me. They didn't get the memo. Like, what the fuck? Fix it. Like, do the Destiny thing, or give you an option to control it with a D-pad, because it seems crazy to me.
I agree. It
seems crazy.
It's very sluggish, and also the biggest problem I had with this, which wasn't a problem in Origins, is the menu is very slow to pull up.
See, hold on.
Like when you open the menu, there's like a 2 or 3 second delay before things appear.
I brought this up a couple years ago, and I got a bunch of shit because people were complaining that I was upset by a menu that was slow. But honestly, if you're in a game where you might be like, you're kind of like, wait, where was that thing? Hold on, let me pull up the menu again, and it takes like 2 to 3 seconds. That can be super frustrating.
I spend a lot of time in the menu, so pulling up the menu is rather annoying.
You will never hear
I love
me
snappy menus.
like kind of give you shit if you're complaining about slow menus. Slow menus are the worst fucking thing in the world, especially in a game that is like RPG-y, where you need to be going into a menu to do stuff.
That was the biggest problem with Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, and Chrono Trigger on PS1.
Yeah.
It's because I guess it was on a CD. Like, the menus loaded really slow, and it's like, oh, you can't have that in this kind of game. That was real snappy before.
Thank you for the aside, Brad. I forgot. I wasn't thinking about the menu.
I just wanted to break the flow. Continue back to...
Who are you guys playing as?
Cassandra.
Oh, Cassandra, dude.
Cassandra.
Yeah, Cassandra. For
She's the main reason I want to play this game.
Nobody picked Alexios?
She's the main reason I want to play this game, and she's really good in this fucking game.
She's cool. I like her.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
And I like that they tried to like flesh it out so where you could do that whole like warrior hunter assassin thing, and you could kind of make builds, and you can kind of just be like, if you want to be a straight fighter, you can be a straight fighter, but like I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's an Assassin's
The main reason
Creed
I want to
game,
be a
right?
warrior
Like
in this game, the main reason I want to be a warrior in this game is because I really enjoy just kind of turning it on and just exploring and just kind of roaming the land.
Yeah.
And when I ended up falling off this game, and decided that maybe I don't want to play this. It was when I was outside of a camp and I was tagging shit and it felt like fucking Far Cry or something.
Yeah.
And I was failing and I was getting frustrated and I was like, I don't want to play this game this way. It fucks with the flow. I don't want to bring out my bird and tag a bunch of shit because I was trying to play with minimal or no UI. But when you bring out your bird to tag shit, you have to turn on the UI that shows the level of the fucking enemy with those little big shields over there. Otherwise, you can't even fucking tag them. And I didn't want to do any of that. I just wanted to run around and explore and maybe hit things when they attacked me.
I mean, here's the thing.
This
is a game
designed in a way to where I can enjoy it as much as you guys are enjoying it by not doing any stealth. Then I'll be happy to play this game this way because I don't want to do this.
Okay, fine, and you totally can. I do think this is a game. This is a game that's big enough, and there are enough different things to do in this game that you can absolutely play this game and never even worry about taking out enemy encampments if you so choose.
I love the bird for like orienting myself when I don't want to look at the map.
Yeah,
but yeah.
You guys have PS Pros, right?
Yeah,
I don't. No.
When you back out of the bird, does it go through a loading screen?
Not a loading screen, but
I go through a loading screen when I back out.
Well, if it's far away,
it blacks out and puts the loading icon.
Oh, mine doesn't.
It's fucking terrible.
Mine doesn't do that, but the screen stays black for about 5 seconds.
It depends on how far away the bird is. If the bird goes too far away or too hard, sometimes it's pretty rare, but it'll do a loading screen.
I mean, that's definitely.
But I've been exploring with the bird. So it triggers that loading
and the fact that they pulled back the range too, as far as like limiting how far, like in Origins you could go too far as the bird and it would be like, you're going outside of the range or whatever. And this, I feel like you can kind of go, you can go as far as you want, but then
makes me wish
loads you back. It takes a minute to load back.
I would play this on PC just to kill the loading on that bird or that black screen on the bird completely because it's a really cool idea. I do wish the bird was a little less clunky. I don't know why it needs to be so clunky.
Well, it's weird because one stick controls the movement independent of the camera.
It's just sluggish. And like it would be
So, like,
if
pushing-
you could really zip around with that
But
thing,
like
that'd be so
your
cool.
elevation's determined specifically by the camera, so if you push forward on the stick, the bird's like descending.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. I don't know. But let me ask you guys another question. Do you find yourselves taking sides in the Athens versus Sparta?
I
No,
didn't
I'm
get
actually
that
very
far.
confused by that, and
I am too.
Yes.
Oh my god, I'm glad you said that because I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I
in
like-
this game.
I like the
and the
conquest
story
battles.
beats that have to do with like Cassandra and like because Cassandra's got a lot of history with the Spartans, right?
Yeah,
So it's
her
like
family is a
I
Spartan.
don't understand why Cassandra would ever
Side with
give a
Athens.
shit about Sparta. Like
Wait,
I don't know.
You mean Athens?
No, why does she care about Sparta?
Because her family is from Sparta.
The family that threw her over a fucking cliff?
Well, yeah, but
Like-
I mean that. I'm more confused because
Yeah, but that's very Spartan.
because they were
yeah,
trying
but
to give.
she didn't like grow up as a Spartan. That was like she was a kid when that happened.
It did seem kind of weird to me that like when I started the game, everything like that was a
Like
significant moment in her life,
fucking
right?
hate kill every Spartan I see in this game.
Oh, hold on, hold on. I
And that's
thought
cool that
it
you
was
can
like
do that.
super weird how fast everything started advancing in this game. Like she gets thrown off the cliff, right? And you start the game and it's like what fucking 20 years later or some shit, right?
Yeah.
And like she's just been living like with this dude in this small like island or whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like
Everything happens.
everything is happening. She's, you know,
In, like,
commanding a
one
naval
day.
fleet. And like, it was like, yeah, it felt like a day. And it's like, she probably would have been doing some of this shit earlier, but maybe, I don't know. But that's just a video game thing. It just,
Yeah.
I remember that seeming really, really strange. But
It definitely takes.
I like all the underwater stuff in this
There's
game.
a lot of
Yeah,
underwater.
you know,
okay,
cool.
there's a couple things that we haven't
I
even
wish
touched on.
Tomb
that I
Raider
want-
was this open.
Sure.
Although the one of the things that is frustrating about the fact that Assassin's Creed is kind of a full blown RPG right now is I feel like it does kind of hurt exploration because I was just said, you know what, fuck it, I don't want to do any of this shit. Let me get my boat. Look at that island over there. I'm just gonna go there. And there was just some like bandit dudes that were like way higher level than me, and I couldn't do any damage to them. And it's like,
Yeah,
well, I guess I just have to go somewhere else. And it's a weird way to gate you from exploring that, and I don't like it when enemies are just arbitrarily way stronger than you because they're higher level.
Well,
Like
typically,
I like it when it's designed where like there's a reason that,
You're right.
you know,
but-
like all the dragons in this world are high level, and goblins are always going to be easier to kill no matter where I find them. But in this game, these were just like random dudes,
Well,
and I couldn't do anything.
Here's
to
the
them.
thing: if you go to an island and you notice that everyone's like significantly higher level than you, that usually indicates that you're going to come back to that point at a later part of the story. Which
Yeah.
is not an excuse for it, but
yeah.
that's usually because they're going to eventually lead you back around to that point, and you're going to be a much higher level anyways.
Yeah,
but
it
should
makes
level
me
with
just
you.
it makes me want to go just like, oh well, maybe I won't explore. I guess I'll just go to the main story, and I don't like that the game pushes me like that.
So can I talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
This is a prime example of like some of my opinions on Assassin's Creed lately, Brad. So I love the Assassin's Creed series, and ever since Origins, when it got a little more RPG-y, I think that's one of the reasons I kind of put Origins down, was because there's too much to do.
Yeah,
And that was kind of my frustration is when I play Assassin's Creed games, I tend to do a lot of the stuff there is to do in the world. I mean, I see a shiny, I go for the shiny.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that I'm just interested in. You know, why would I not go for that
They
chest?
keep layering stuff on instead of replacing
Exactly. So they
things.
just keep adding more and more and more. And when it's, you know, like Brad was saying, a prime example is I'm in an area and I notice that the enemies are too high level. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm already here. Let me just try and get past them, and then like try. And it's very difficult. And it's like I don't know. I kind of tend to take that approach when I'm playing these games. Is it's just, hey, I'm here. I'm gonna do it. Why would I go somewhere else and then have to
You're
come
right.
back
Yeah.
here?
and like in Breath of the Wild, they had harder areas, but you could really like if you went to the desert 1st, but you know you could still push through. But in this game, it's like I'm not even doing damage to these people.
Yeah.
I just have to leave.
The
Well,
game
okay,
is
here's
like,
and you're
blocking
right.
you.
Here's the thing, and this is kind of what I eventually learned about when I played Origins too, because I played that till about I got to a point where in Origins where it started to gel with me. I started to get more comfortable with choosing what I did and didn't want to do, and I feel like this you really had to kind of take. You know, you have to acknowledge all the different things you can do and kind of pick and choose which things sound interesting to you. And unless, of course, you're one of those weird people who's going to spend like hundreds of hours playing this and go for it. I do
wanna
know,
do that.
like, I know ultimately I'm going to I'm going to play this game for about 60 hours, and I'm going to move on to something else.
Can I ask you about that? Like about picking and choosing? Is there something in this game that's kind of like exploration based that like it would be fun to kind of hit them all? Like imagine like the optional tombs in like a Tomb Raider game, or even the tombs in like Assassin's Creed 2, right? Where I'm going to seek out all these, I'm going to do these platforming challenges or puzzles or whatever, and they kind of that'll be satisfying.
They feed those things to you slowly until you get to about the 20-hour mark, and then.
But what are they in this game,
for me,
specifically?
So Crispy mentioned this a while ago, and to me, it's like a game changer for me. He doesn't seem as thrilled about it, but like the cultists. The cultists are, in my opinion, are the coolest thing they've done in Assassin's Creed.
I heard that's like the Nemesis system, right?
What are the cultists?
It's not really it's not the Nemesis system.
No, it is not the Nemesis
Kind of
system
like
at all.
Nemesis Light.
No, I mean
It's a list. It's the fucking Borgia list from the Assassin's Creed 2 trilogy. It's just they're all out there at the same time.
the thing is you have a big like a web, right? And all these cultists, they wear a mask. You don't know who they are, and you have to actually go around the world and do missions to like uncover the identity of each of these cultists and then find them in the map and kill them.
Yeah, and you're like killing a series of cultists to find their sage. So like every time you kill, like, so there'll be like 5 cultists in a line that each give you a specific clue about like their leader. And then once you kill all 5 of them, then you know who the leader is, and then you go kill him.
But
it's a neat idea.
I could see it having been
it's
kind of
one of
inspired
like
by the
19 different mechanics in this game, so there's like not much to it, you know.
Maybe what they should do is pare down on some of that stuff and flesh out.
Sure, but like the thing
What's
is,
good?
I think it also depends on like how you feel about the the assassin-y mechanics of this game.
Yeah.
I think we have a differing opinion here. 'Cause I feel like the actual act of playing as an assassin in this game is better than it's ever been. I love the feeling of sneaking around.
Those specific targets are very well suited to assassin tactics,
which is why I like that so much.
They're usually not soldiers or anything. They're usually just like people who are out in the world. But they all do still tend to be in camps. They all do still tend, or like on ships. One of them was on a ship I saw. So it's not like you're just gonna bump into these people in a marketplace somewhere and then kill them really stealthily.
You could. I was actually walking through a market.
I mean, I've done like 6 of them and I haven't seen anything like that.
Well,
yet,
another
but
one
maybe
like
later.
So there's also the mercenaries, right? There's a whole tier of mercenaries that are just patrolling around the world that are seeking out bounties on you, and you could stumble across them at any point. I was literally walking through a market, and I was not doing a mission or anything, and you hear that horn that goes off when there's one of those mercenaries nearby, and I turned a corner and he was walking down the alleyway towards me.
Dude.
I was like, oh shit, and I ducked around the corner, I climbed up the wall, and then I jumped off the roof and killed him.
Yeah, you're talking about a mercenary.
I know
The mercenaries wander around everywhere,
and
but the cultists don't. The people who should be doing that, the cultists don't do that.
Well, the cultists aren't like they're not mercenaries. They're not
No. I know. But like the whole I guess what I'm saying is the whole concept, the whole idea behind these cultists is that they're supposed to be anybody. They're supposed to be people who are part of high Grecian society that you are just like running into and like you're trying to ferret out what their alter egos are so that you can go kill them. Those are the people that should just be like in the world in an organic manner. They're not the people that should all be holed up in forts and camps, which is so far, like, of the 5 or 6 I've killed, that's all they have been. Like I haven't had like that moment you're talking about with the mercenaries is fucking great, and I've had a lot of encounters with mercenaries like that. But those fights are always, for me, have been, you know, much more traditional, like hand to hand. I got the drop on you, now we're gonna fight kind of thing. It would be so much better if the cultists also function like that. Like if I was in Athens and I was in like Greater Athens and I'm in the market or something, and I finally figured out who a cultist was, and they like happened to be like shopping at a booth over here next to me, and then I go and like fucking kill them. That is like
you. I've only done 3 or 4 of the cultists so far, and I don't know for sure yet. I would be shocked if that doesn't apply to some of them.
I'm sure a couple of them are, but like already the ratio just seems really weird. I just like
let's return to that and talk about it later once we've played.
Those targets are you're right. Those targets are great, and they do facilitate a lot of the assassin-y stuff that I like. I think comparing it to the Nemesis system is like doing the Nemesis system a great disservice, because that was a fantastic idea.
That would have been a great opportunity though.
But like it's probably inspired
iteration.
by the Nemesis system, right?
Everything in this game is inspired by something from another game.
Okay, but I'm saying the Nemesis system was so cool, and we expected like, oh, I bet other developers are gonna start taking from this and like doing it in their own ways. And you really haven't seen that,
Right.
and maybe they don't quite nail it. But I'm still glad that they're.
But this isn't. But what I'm saying is, this is not close enough to warrant the comparison. This is another list.
Yeah, the only thing that actually even I think is similar to the Nemesis system is the way that has the maybe
it's the bounties I'm thinking of.
The presentation of the list is the very hierarchy.
Right,
like,
it's a tab that has,
hierarchical.
like the fucking if this is the way that developers are gonna riff off of the Nemesis system, I don't even want.
Maybe
them
I'm
to do
thinking
it
of
because
the
it's
bounties,
fucking-
the way they just show up. Like while you're doing other shit like orcs would do just to ruin your fucking day.
Yeah,
Dude, I honestly want more games to do shit like that.
I know.
Just randomly in the world, I'm doing something, all of a sudden a guy comes up, he's like, what's up, fucktard? Let's fight.
And see, it would be cool if like you were fighting normal dudes, and then they became like the mercenaries on the mercenary list that you're fighting. But those characters already exist. They're already written.
Well,
they already are like that's what was cool about Nemesis.
Yeah.
But
Except that second.
Yeah,
Lord of the
I don't
Rings
know.
game for some
I mean,
reason.
overall, let me tell you something, Nick. Overall, I am having a good time with this game. I am enjoying it. I played about 20 hours. I think I'm gonna set it aside though. I think I'm gonna put it aside for now, because it is getting a little like bloaty.
Crispy.
Well,
and
I
the
put it down
story's
because I was
crispy.
overwhelmed.
That's exactly what I did with Origins, and I never picked it back up.
I mean,
I know.
you know me. I love this series enough that I'm gonna probably spend 60 to 70 hours in this game. But I could see how. I mean, there is a little bit of feature creep here. There's a lot to do, and I wish they would pick and choose. I wish they would be pickier about what they actually decided to include. I'm surprised at how much I'm actually enjoying the world. I think the ship combat is a refreshing.
it's like a streamlining.
It does not. I assure you, it is not streamlining because that
like in a good way, Nick.
Oh, you made it sound like they were like dumbing it down, and I don't think that's the case at all. You actually
Streamlined does not mean dumbed down.
I know, but
It's
like
less
the way he said it
fiddly,
made it
like
sound.
I
a very diplomatic way of saying dumb down.
But well, like I'm saying, like I'm much more maneuverable. Like I feel like I'm doing what I want to a lot easier than I did in Black Flag. I mean,
This is definitely.
I don't have the same kind of.
Triremes are just more maneuverable than Galleons.
I will say it's much less exciting than it was for me in Black Flag.
Well, I think
because
that's
I
just
think back then it was so novel and it felt like
naval is the word
it
you're
felt
looking
like
for.
Wind Waker, but realistic. It felt so fresh back then. Here,
I mean, it definitely does not feel as fresh as it did in Black Flag, and I think that's just
I don't have
that's
that.
just a symptom of like we've seen it before, and they're bringing it back because it was a fan favorite, and it fits the setting better here than it does. The thing is, like, I liked I actually felt like the boat stuff in Origins was pretty great, even though not like the actual naval battles, but like just the way you actually move around the world a lot on like the little fishing boats and stuff was really cool.
I will say that like I heard people kind of talking about Origins and talking about this game a lot lately. I even went back to like listen to some reviews from Origins as well because it's one I've always wanted to try. And me playing this made me realize that maybe I just want to play Origins instead. Somebody said like it's cool that Origins just has like a giant desert with like not much in it. That sounded so appealing to me because like what Nolan was saying. And like, I feel like there's too much in these games, and I just want some open space, some breathing room. I want to explore a little bit and not find 8 encampments
and also like in Origins, like even when you
treasure chests,
even when you were out in the middle of this desert and it was empty, like there was still shit to see. Like you would hallucinate and like cool shit.
But it wasn't like every 2 seconds. Right?
I know, and
which is refreshing.
I think this is definitely.
I think what it is too much of the open space in this game is the ocean, and when you're on the ocean, you're constantly getting into these little ship battles. Like it doesn't have the breathing room that maybe Origins.
There's some cool underwater shit like
there is, there fucking is, dude.
There was some interesting underwater shit in Origins too.
I just
also. After playing this game, I felt the same way I did in some respects, or in this specific respect, that I did when I played that most recent Tomb Raider game, and when I kind of play any open world game these days, and that's that I hope every developer on the planet plays Breath of the Wild, and that starts to influence some of the ways they design their games going forward, because... Yeah.
As kind of a wrap up, I guess, for me... because you did.
I thought our entire podcast was going to be about.
You
this
did
game.
no, you did ask about which one I like better, and there are certain things about this game that I really, really, really like there are certain things that are kind of driving me crazy. One of which being like just something as simple as like the way the character moves. I think it feels really like stiff.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Assassin's Creed games, they
Dude,
have like this
they
really
run
cool like
like
run,
they- like
and
they
she
have to
runs like
shit.
she
Yeah.
runs like your next door neighbor like running down the street. It's weird. Like it just doesn't look
Your
as
next
nice.
door neighbor?
Is that a common thing?
No, just her run is not nearly like
It's not a superhero run.
They've had this very graceful like
It feels
Run,
like character
and-
animations.
Does
have
she
taken a
not
step
put
back.
her arms behind her back like Naruto?
Well, she's an assassin. She's supposed to, Brad.
true.
I like the character a lot. I like the fact that there's dialogue options, even though they're not super deep. I like all the stuff that they've added, and the world is actually is. I'm surprised by how much I'm enjoying the world. I think the soundtrack is also phenomenal. Just like I said that about Origins last year, and the soundtrack here is fantastic. But there's just a few things that kind of
Wait a
irk me a little
fucking.
bit.
Did you get? Do you have like Molotov cocktails or something?
No, they're torches.
You can throw torches.
Yeah, you hold down right on the D-pad.
God.
Do you have
Damn
infinite
it.
torches?
Infinite torches.
I saw,
Like there's quality of life things in this game, like the fact that you don't have to seek out things like torches, the fact that you
Yeah.
can never die from fall damage ever in this game, I think
Which
is
is kinda
a
weird,
godsend.
but-
It's weird, but like people will like often like would fuck up jumps in Assassin's Creed and be like, I just died, fuck. Like that can never happen in this game, and I think
Yeah.
that's
It's weird that there is fall damage, but that it'll never kill you.
yeah, it'll only take you down to 1 point of,
Yeah.
of health.
But then you like immediately like why?
because of the gods keep you alive.
No, but I mean like why have fall damage at all if
Yeah.
it's
I will
never
say
gonna kill
this.
you
Good
and you
point.
immediately refill your health.
There's cool stuff to find in the world that I think you might be into. Like I literally dove down into a cave, swam under this island into this like huge open area, and then found this like door, and it sounded like there was like what I can only assume is like a minotaur behind it, like banging on the door, like a mythological creature. I couldn't get to it. I had to find some stuff that would eventually let me to get in there and fight him, I suppose. But like I just stumbled across that. Nothing told me to go find that, and like that's the kind of shit that keeps me
Minotaur would
going.
be in the middle of a maze.
One last question
Or
before we
11.
drop this.
Yeah. Yep.
Modern day stuff.
I got to my first one yesterday.
Yeah. Why is that still a thing?
Okay, God, I
Okay,
was hoping
that's a conversation.
I was
that's
hoping
not
we
worth
wouldn't have
having
this
right now.
conversation.
You know what? I'm going to veto that myself.
Does it add?
So I will say, at this point, I want them to fix it so bad because I personally love it. But like they are mailing it in this
But
game.
you can't
They are
like what it
mailing it
is
in.
in this game because I played that second.
Yeah, it's like you
like-
come out of the Animus, you walk around a room, check some email, and then go back into the Animus. It is
mean,
it is so
I don't even
inconsequential.
Hasn't it been like that since Black Flag?
Was there
Black Flag had the cool where you were actually unraveling a mystery in like that game development
Yeah.
studio. I thought it was pretty cool.
There was stuff to it, but I mean, like at
It
this
is a-
point, it feels like they don't even give a shit about it. So I don't know why they're even bothering. with it.
because they can't call it Assassin's Creed if they don't have something.
Here's the
connected
thing.
with
they've
it.
done that before. They've done it before where they didn't have modern day
I
sequences.
thought all of them.
No,
had
they all have
something.
some component.
Revelations did not have modern day stuff. They had like that Animus Black Room thing.
Okay, well,
that was
I
kind
mean-
of cool, but that was completely.
I'm
different.
saying I think part of the DNA of the series is that they do something weird or different or new or fresh. No matter what the scale of it is, they got to have something like that in there.
there's nothing.
I don't know what
new
the fuck.
or fresh.
They
about
they mailed it in this game,
I'm
and
not
it pisses
saying
me
it's
off.
good. I'm saying it's part of this fucking series.
Honestly, if I have any hopes for like, because obviously they said that they're skipping next year. We're gonna get another Assassin's Creed. I'm guessing in 2020.
they skipped?
I
Use
hope
what setting?
I hope that game's like driving focus is to like rebuild the shambles of that modern day shit, because I think it is integral to like the series as a whole, and it is terrible at this
what
point.
did they do with it in Origins?
Okay, let's stop.
I mean,
talking.
you
Okay.
played the same character in Origins, but like they made it seem like you were gonna do more of it in that game than you ultimately ended up doing. Like it was more than just waking up in a room and walking around like a tiny room and checking an email and going back in. There was a little bit of stuff happening. I just think they're missing
There's
an opportunity
one solution
here.
that appeases every Assassin's Creed fan. You just do an Assassin's Creed game in a modern day setting. That way, for you get everything modern day, and for you get everything nothing modern day, or nothing is out of the Animus because it's all out of the Animus. I'm saying there's no divide. Everyone's happy. Nothing pulls you out. Everything.
Wouldn't Assassin's Creed with guns and cars kind of suck though?
Yeah, Chris Davis
It's called
wants
Watch
that.
Dogs, and he loves it.
I don't want that. I don't want that game, because I feel like that when that game happens, that is the final game in the series, and that should be like that should be the conclusion
Listen,
of like
man,
the whole story.
Have you ever seen Quantum Leap?
Yeah.
No, I haven't actually.
You know, he
Yeah.
made it home
He
a
never
couple
made it
times.
back.
He did a couple times, but it's like the Odyssey.
He never stayed there.
It's like the Odyssey, you know. Even though he was like nearly home, he still had a long adventure ahead of him. Hey, let's shift the conversation to what I've been playing.
All right, let's do it. Tell us about what? How do you say this?
Wandersong.
Wandersong.
You wander around and you sing.
All right, all right. We'll talk about
All
a
right,
shift.
well, thanks for sharing that with us, Brad. I appreciate it.
This is what I've been playing. This is a new indie game. I've been kind of seeing reviews creep out for this ever since its release a few weeks ago, at least. And I was like, they were like surprisingly positive. And then I watched a couple of videos, like video reviews and stuff, and I kind of liked the look of it. And it's a little frustrating because a lot of this game is very like musical based, and you kind of need to hear it to kind of get the full experience. You'll see a little bit of it here, but it kind of just maybe looks like a Flash game or something. But
it does in fact look like a Flash game.
It's one that you got to hear to really kind of to get. You know, it wasn't until I watched like a trailer that I was like,
well, then thanks for sharing this with us, Brad.
I think I'm gonna get this. But maybe after you hear me talk about it a little bit, you'll watch a trailer, maybe a video review, and go, oh, okay, this is actually pretty cool. So you play this bard-like character who he sings, and that's sort of his interaction with the world and the people around you. And what I love about this game is it's so like happy and positive. At least this main character is. He just goes around the world and he's solving problems and I guess saving the world ultimately with his songs. And he just sings. And you have this mechanic to with the right analog stick, you sing different notes, right?
He's literally dancing around like on the screen.
That's the other thing. You have a dance button that you could just do anytime you want, even in conversations, bust out into like a dance. And even if the moment gets sad, he'll just dance a little slower, or he won't move his arms, but he'll still be doing like dance moves. So and same with the song. You could pretty much sing anytime you want in most situations, even though singing is sort of like the way you interact with the world, the way you solve puzzles,
I like how the whole
way you
world
solve
moves
problems
when you sing.
It does. It's like this really cool effect, and it adds to like the track as well. This is a character that just kind of hates. She's like the opposite of you. You're like super happy and positive, and like I'm going to solve all the world's problems with song. And she hates, I guess, singing. But it's just
She's like the dad from Footloose.
Yeah, kind of.
Pretty much.
No, not really. I like Footloose. That scene where he
John
dances
Lithgow?
in the refinery. John Lithgow, yeah.
Yes, John Lithgow.
So this game kind of reminds me of like maybe something like Night in the Woods, where a lot of your time is spent, walking around talking to characters, but you're kind of solving problems. There's a little bit of like platforming and puzzle solving, but at least as far as I am, it kind of takes a back seat. And I know this game's probably like 10 hours long, and I'm not super far into it, so I don't know how much more platforming and puzzle solving is going to be in terms of that ratio later on in the game. But right now, it's mostly kind of like hanging out in these towns and solving these people's problems, and through song. And like it can be like pretty simple, your interactions, but it is never like, it's always changing or evolving or something different. Like sometimes you're just like mimicking notes. Like very early on, I was like vanquishing ghosts from like a town, right? And I was doing it through song, and I was just sort of like Simon, mimicking their notes, and eventually they'd go away. But like lately, I've been doing this like completely different like sort of effect where I've been following like the wind with my notes, and it's all musical based, and none of it's like really challenging or complex. It's just something you do. But I think the real reason you play this game is kind of its personality and its charm and its positivity. I mean, the fact that you just have a dance button that has no mechanical like people don't even really react to your dancing. It's just something you do because you want to do it, because sometimes in the moment it makes sense. But it is funny how even in these sad moments, like here, I'm trying to get this accordion player to join a band because I met some dude in town who said, "Hey, can you be in my band?" And he's like, "Oh, fuck yeah, I want to be in a band." So
please tell me he said exactly that.
But she was like too sad, and I went to the cemetery and I brought back the ghost of her mom, and now like she's playing like the song that her mom used to play, and it's like this
And that's her ghost
this
mom?
really sad, touching moment that I wasn't expecting at all, because the game has just been so happy. And it's still like this really happy, bittersweet moment. But like when he's singing in this moment, it's unlike any of the singing he's done before. It's like this very slower,
like
kind of a sad song, and it's like, wow, I did not expect this moment from this game.
How often does the music change? Like, do you feel like the music and the dancing is like varied enough that it never gets like repetitive or old or anything?
I mean, just like this game is just a wonderful music experience through and through, and the
is
types
this the
of
game
musical
the world
moments
needs right now?
You know what? I mean, kind of, right? Like it's kind of, man. You know, I kind of get feelings from this game like I kind of did from like Puppeteer, where it was just the attitude was just so like happy, you know, that it you know, I was kind of down, I guess, when I played Puppeteer, but you know, I'm not like that now, but I don't know, it makes me feel good playing this game. Because he's so like fucking energetic.
That's
like,
always a good feeling when you play a game like this, and it just really like kind of just puts you in a good mood. It's one of those games where it's kind of I felt that when I played like Night in the Woods. It's just like one of those. It's just delightful. Like when you play it, you're like just happy.
It's very funny, and the writing is very good. Like I was kind of exploring with that cranky witch, and we came across these trolls, and she was like, "Oh, this fucking troll, we gotta kill it." But like it's really easy for me because I'm a witch. I could just like zap him. He's like, "No. Let me try singing." And I feel like if they made a movie of this game, this dude would be played by that dude from 30 Rock, which I didn't watch.
Kenneth?
Yeah.
Oh!
That's this fucking dude.
This game is Kenneth the game?
Yes, that's this fucking dude.
Oh, that is the moment you sold me.
This game is so weird and quirky. Like there's a moment. This is kind of a sad moment, so I'm dancing slowly. There's a moment in this game where like I played for like an hour or whatever, and someone finally asked me what my name is, and you sing all your dialogue as well too, and when you say a sentence, you're like singing multiple notes just to get your line out. But they asked me to spell my name, but then they just popped up like 6 random letters, and I'm like, well, my name doesn't start with one of these letters, but let's just go with it. So I like sang a K, and then they like popped up a bunch of other random letters, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna make a name, and my name ended up being Keed, Keed, because that's all I could sing. But I was like, no, I don't. Eventually, I kept retrying until I got the letters B, and then R, and then A, and D, and I finally got my name. But that's such a random little weird, stupid, quirky thing, and the game is filled with those moments. You know, so I did watch a few reviews, or read a couple of reviews as well about this game, and I mentioned it. I want to mention it to you and Nolan and Crispy, because a lot of people said that this is very Adventure timey, and I've never really watched too much Adventure Time.
It's pretty good,
but I know y'all like it, and if I like this, maybe I would like Adventure Time.
I mean, this does sound like the ultimate bard adventure, which is
yeah,
fucking appealing, because there aren't enough good like examples of an archetypal bard in media. I feel like
it's singing Night in the Woods.
Yeah,
but more adventure-y.
That's appealing.
Tell me more.
I want to play this.
You should. It's. I've been having kind of.
Are you playing this on PC?
I'm playing this on my Switch. It's not on Switch as well.
Gotcha.
And again, it's not like punishing. If you fuck up notes, the game doesn't give a shit at all. You know. But I will say, like, this game, play with headphones. Sometimes I'll be in like a new area or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, this music is nice, but then I'll just like sing a note, and the music comes to life from that. Like tracks kick in that I didn't even realize were there until I like sang a note.
You're singing. That's cool.
I mean, you can kind of sing like shitty, but like it doesn't matter because it's so
but
happy. And this is
from the
like
heart.
a 10-minute scene of me performing in a band. And all of a sudden, like this accordion player that she was sad about her mom dying or whatever. It just goes off into this solo, and you just watch this solo for like a few minutes, and it's like crazy. It's like, why is this even in the game?
Like you don't actually have to do anything.
You don't do anything. You actually just watch this fucking Flash game looking character play her song, and it's kind of touching. I don't know. This is. I wasn't expecting anything from this game because I didn't even know about it till a couple of weeks ago, and I'm so glad that I'm playing it because it's kind of wonderful.
It sounds cool. It sounds like a nice, happy experience. It's a palate cleanser.
In between fucking Tomb Raider and Assassin's Creed and Red Dead's coming out.
These
and
murder games,
fighting wars and Valkyria Chronicles and shit, and
getting
like
all that PTSD.
It's nice to just play this type of a game. I don't know. Every
This
now
is
and
like
then.
a video game sorbet.
You unlock dances. It's
This is called Wandersong, right?
Wandersong. I
Wandersong.
recommend
Steam?
it. Recommend it. I think it's on a lot of things. I don't know.
If it's on Switch, it's probably on everything.
It's on Switch.
All right. Before we go to, let's get one more game in before we go to break. Nolan, you want
What's
to
up,
talk
Nick?
about? You wanted to give us an update on.
I feel
Wait,
like
which one? You're
this
looking at me
should-
like-
wait. I feel like this should be a reoccurring like sad series or whatever. Like he keeps bringing up this game so much that I feel like it should become like
segment.
kind of a depressing check-in.
The depressing adventures.
Yeah, this should be like themed.
Okay.
I feel like.
I don't know how to
Get-
go for that. I mean,
Yeah.
Tell us the
we have to
names
think
of all
about
the
it,
people
but-
who
Like-
died in
like
your
a
Yeah,
village.
yeah. You should
Oh.
you should
That
roll
list-
out every week. You
that
should
list
roll
is
out a
too
list of all
long.
the dead people.
Do they have names?
They all have names. They are all
Yeah,
unique.
read the list of dead people. That'd be
I
good.
don't know. There's at least 60.
So you're still playing Frostpunk?
I am.
Fall of Winterhome.
Correct. The free DLC, the new scenario, Fall of Winterhome. I've continued with it. My last stream, another example of I decided, hey, I'll finish off this scenario and then I'll play something else. I've played this scenario for 3 different streams so far, and I still haven't finished it.
Jesus
This
Christ!
free scenario they released is not a fucking tiny little thing. It is ridiculous. So yeah, for those who aren't caught up on the Fall of Winterhome, unlike the other scenarios, this was where you were given a pretty much just a shitty like city that was in a horrible state, and you were now the the leader of it, and it's kind of like, hey, try and survive. And I think the last y'all heard from me, the generator was failing. The engineers came to me and they were like, hey, generator's failing.
And it's still failing.
We don't know when, but it is going to.
Oh, okay.
And so I had the choice of telling the people, hey, everyone, the generator's going to fail. We don't know what we're going to do. So we're going to get on this dreadnought and hope for the best. Or you could tell them, hey, generator's failing. I know of a city that we can go to, so let's hop on this dreadnought and go there. I lied to them, and they got happy about that. So I've been trying to survive. Things are still going awry. This and that. People are rioting in the streets. I'm trying to get all my stuff, and I'm trying to get the dreadnought ready. And to do that, you have to send a bunch of engineers there. Every once in a while, the generator will shut down completely, and you have to repair it. Every time it shuts down, it stays offline for a little bit longer. It's negative like 60 degrees, so everyone's freezing. And
How many sick people do you have?
honestly, 0. I've been doing very good about having infirmaries that are empty. The only time sick people happen is during the actual generator failures, when it's down for... The first time it was down for about 5 hours. The second time, I want to say around like 12 hours. And so those are generally the only times that people start to get sick. But since my infirmaries, I have 2 of them. So that's 20 people that can be in there. And I have 2 care homes. And each care home is 40 or 20 people. So I have essentially 20, 40, 60 beds where people who are not feeling well can be. So I'm pretty good about keeping my people healthy. I'm in a good spot there.
Too bad you're lying to them all.
That's true. And so the thing is, I knew that the dreadnought had to be supplied, so you had to send 25 engineers there, which means they can't be at my base manning those hospitals and stuff like that. I only have like 70 engineers. Now 25 of them are off somewhere else. And then now, they got the...
Put the kids to work.
Well, kind of. You have to. So got the dreadnought, got it up and running. Turns out, we're going to need a shit ton of steel, and we're going to need like 5,000 coal, and we're going to need 10 food per person to go off on this trip. What's
Is
up,
getting
Nick?
the dreadnought finished like kind of the end game for this scenario? Like
I
everyone
think
gets on the
so.
dreadnought and leaves, and that's how you win.
I think so. I don't know. That's the thing about this game, is you never know. You don't know what's around the corner. I thought originally, the first time I played this, I thought I was about to like finish the scenario. Nope, just opened up a whole nother section of the whole dreadnought thing. I thought it was just kind of surviving. But yeah, so everything's starting to chug along, and then this engineer is like, "Hey, man, generator's failing," and I found this map. There's no cities anywhere near here. You're fucking lying. And I was like, oh shit.
It's not on the map.
You killed him?
So I had two options. Let him
threw
and
him
his
out in the
child be on the next train to the Dreadnought.
Of course, he has
So-
a fucking child.
Or kill them. Kill him. Not his kid, just him. And I was like,
So he's bribing you.
yeah. And so I was
Or
like, all
you're
right,
bribing
fuck it.
him,
I'm
but-
like,
Why is he trying to get on the Dreadnought if he knows that you
because
don't know where you're going?
he also knows the generator's going to fail. He knows that the Dreadnought's the only
That
hope.
city doesn't exist, but I want to go there.
You have no good reason to not kill him.
So I let him live because
What?
I'm a good person.
What?
That's gonna get a lot of people killed.
So then some people started bitching, and they were like, "We have to get all of the children on the Dreadnought." The problem is my children are doing a shit ton of work. We got to collect a lot of supplies. But I was like, you know what? All right, I promise you, I'll get all the children on the next transport, or within X amount of days. Slowly get all the children out of there. That just means I have fewer workers. That's fine.
So you have a boat full of children.
Kind of. 25 engineers,
What if it sinks?
1 worker, and a bunch of children.
You're gonna sink the future of the world.
Some other engineers come up to me and they're like, hey, that guy told us you were lying.
You should
Fucking knew it, man.
You should have murdered
You should have
that
been
guy.
like,
What
all
were the
right, I'm
downsides-
taking the Dreadnought
What were the
myself. I hope
downsides
y'all
to killing
fucking
this guy?
freeze.
I don't know.
No downsides.
I don't know.
Kill him.
So they're like, hey,
Murder.
either you tell the people or we're going to.
You killed
Kill
them.
all
So I killed all 4 of them. I was like, kill them. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm glad the story had a happy ending.
Here's the thing. There's a glitch in Frostpunk.
I saw you tweet the other day. Is that what you're saying?
It wouldn't let me save my game. So what it turned out happened was this was a known glitch that 11-bit studios, the developers, had figured out, and they released a patch. But because I got Winter Home early, I got it like 4 days early via a Steam beta. If you go into Steam, if you go into the Steam beta, there's always like an option to opt into a beta by entering this code. And so I entered in a code to get.
So you were
Winter.
playing the beta version.
Yeah, so the beta version didn't get patched. And so once I turned off beta, it patched. But I didn't know that when I was on my stream, and so I like reloaded multiple times. I lost all this shit. And not that much. I mean, maybe I lost a half an hour, 45 minutes of gameplay. But it was just like so fucking frustrating. So that's where I'm at now. I have here's the thing. The Dreadnought. If I am completely able to like refactor it. If I'm able to get, I have all the coal on there I need. I'm actually in a really good place for coal right now. I'm in a pretty good place for food. I need 5,000 steel to completely, because the Dreadnought has levels. I have the first level completely done. The second level, I'm almost done, but here's the thing. You need a grand total of, I think, 12 steam cores. Unlike some of the other scenarios, you can't just get steam cores in this game. There are X amount in the scenario.
Yeah.
And the problem is, factories need steam cores. Infirmaries need steam cores. The buildings,
all that.
the buildings I need to gather steel need steam cores.
So you have to shut down your infrastructure to power this thing?
Yes, and that's the fucking thing that's like this game.
They know they want to
is
make
like
they want
perfect
you to-
storm of like trade-offs and
It's
doing.
only difficult if you care about the people.
But so yeah, here's the thing. So I did shut down my factory.
Yeah, spoken like a true politician.
I had 34 people who were amputated. I made 35 prosthetic appendages, and then I shut down the factory. Everywhere else that's currently has steam cores. The next thing I'm going to shut down is the hot house, which is essentially like a garden. Shut that one down. Just let my hunters get stuff. I have 2 infirmaries that I'll maybe shut down one of them, so I have one. But it's like one of those things where I slowly got to start shutting stuff down as I'm building up the Dreadnought. The whole thing is I have 6 days left. There is 6 days.
They've engineered this scenario so they can get you to that crunch point. They knew
It
this
is
was going to happen.
ridiculous. And so that's the thing. I was kind of talking about with chat the other day. When I started my stream on Tuesday, I had 11 days to go, and now I'm at 6 days. So I went through 5 days in 4 hours, just because I'm constantly, pausing and making decisions and trying to like plan everything out. And then, but the thing is, I didn't end up shutting down the weather station. There was a group of 22 engineers at a weather station, and I needed more engineers because I need my fucking generator to be up and live. So I shut down that weather station, but that means I have no idea when the weather's going to change. I don't know when it's going to get warmer, colder. I don't know.
Gamble. Time to gamble.
If I am able to fully furnish the Dreadnought, it will carry 500 people.
Wait,
I have
how many?
568.
Oh,
Sounds like 68 people are.
So
in for a cold winter.
yes,
Why not just work them to the ground, man?
That's
maybe.
what I
So-
would do.
Wow,
So-
Brent has-
Assign them to labor.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I'm still fucking loving this game, man. I would highly recommend it to
apparently,
anyone.
according to Decent Farts, it's like 27% off on Steam right now.
Hey, if it's 27% off, I say grab it right now.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a great fucking game. There are currently 4 scenarios in it. You can always make the scenarios more difficult for yourself. There's a way you can. I forget what it's called. It's like survival mode or something, where you can't pause.
No, fuck that.
There's a version
Fuck
of this where
that.
you can't. It is real time. It goes and you make your decisions, and if you don't, like, shit happens. Yeah, I'm. Hopefully, we'll see by the next podcast. I'll finish this scenario. We'll see what happens, though. I don't know. Maybe after the Dreadnought, something else will happen.
What if it all just falls to shit? At the very
That
end?
could happen too.
You
I
never
could just
know.
completely
That's
fail.
part
At
of
least
the
bring a
fun.
list of all the children who died.
All right, I'll try and gather that list for you, Brad.
All right. Well, thank you for the update. We need to take a break. And when we come back, I think we got another game to talk about, do some news, do some community stuff. So if you're watching us live on Twitch, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I never know how to come back from these breaks. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show.
That works, Nick.
I know, but then
Just
I don't
be
know.
honest.
But then I don't know what to say directly after that. So I just
I know what you could say. You could say, "Hey, Crispy, what did you play last night?"
I like
So-
stop and hope someone's gonna say something.
"Hey, Crispy, what did you play last night?"
So last night, Carlos and I, we played Eternal Darkness.
This is your first time playing that,
Sanity's
right?
Requiem.
Oh shit! I forgot to put the subtitle in the overlay. I forgot there is a
Did you
subtitle.
say sanity? What? You did not say sanity.
Sanity's Requiem. I just
Man-
enunciated it properly,
Eternal
which is
Dark-
something I understand that you're not used to.
Eternal Darkness,
Sean
Manatee's
Hannity's
Requiem.
Sean Hannity's Requiem.
Jesus.
He's just yelling. So yeah, we played a bunch of Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. Oh, that was
Did you
the
get to the tub?
bathtub.
Did you get to
Yes.
the bathtub?
Oh man, that scared the fuck out of me when I
Dude,
was like
I have
13.
never played this game.
I peed
Nothing
my
is
pants.
scary when you're sitting in a room with Carlos.
That legitimately kind of got me though, because I
Wait.
wasn't expecting it. I was so like lulled into a sense of safety because we were just playing this goofy little horror game from
Yeah.
like 20 years ago, and then all of a sudden it was like dead lady in a bathtub, and I'm like, ah!
Wasn't dead lady. It was dead you in a bathtub.
Well, yeah, but
Wait, is that
what? Buffy? Dead Buffy?
And
She does look like
it
Buffy.
does look like Buffy. For
Yeah.
sure. In fact, I didn't want to say that out loud,
We
but
kept
that's what
saying
I was
that all
thinking.
night. This is definitely. This is
She's very
basically
spunky too.
Yeah, she is.
basically
no
Buffy
one
the
is spunky in
Vampire.
this movie. Everyone is dead fucking serious.
Movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Wait, so
Freudian slip.
I've never played Eternal Darkness.
Really?
Never.
Well, you shouldn't look at any of this.
Oh, is it spoilerific?
Uh,
It's never gonna happen.
I'm
It's too
surprised
late.
you haven't played it.
I know, me
This
too.
is kind of a
I think
horror
you'd like it
classic.
because guess what? It's better than the first Silent Hill game.
ooh.
Oh, go fuck
Okay,
yourself.
why are you even making that comparison?
Why did you say that, Brad? Why did
Wait,
you
what?
say that back in September of 2008? I have the exact date right here. Podcast episode 82, September 27th, 2008. Let's listen to the clip.
This is Carlos is doing.
Wait, hold
This
on.
is all
Hold on.
Carlos is
Before
doing.
you play that
Wait,
clip,
shh.
turn it up.
But I couldn't get past that first, like,
My God, that show sounds so bad.
Silent Hill 1. Watch out, God.
Oh, that was it?
Fuck a lot better than Silent Hill 1. Watch out, God.
Were we just talking about Silent Hill?
I couldn't get past
Maybe.
that first, like, fuck a lot
All right,
Oh
Nick,
my God.
Nick and Nick just splice in the direct audio.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh, caught you red-handed, Brad.
Okay. First of all, me dumping on this
How
game.
dare you bring in facts to this, Crispy?
Listen, you dumbass. I'm not. I'm not on record of hating this game. I've been hating on this game over the past few days because, surprise, I'm just dumping on Carlos. I'm sorry, you can't tell the difference.
You got under his skin.
But I do that a lot. Like when I say,
hit a nerve.
when I say, hey, Singularity sucks, it's just because I'm
I will fucking fight you, Brad.
I'm in a room with Nick. But when you go back, I actually like Singularity. That's not the point. The point is I'm dumping on Carlos because it's fun to do. Because he's fucking Carlos.
Okay,
yes,
Brad.
I like Eternal Darkness. If you would have got to the conversation, I would have said, hey, I like Eternal Darkness.
So we all agree that it's better than Silent Hill 1.
Well, I don't see. You know, it's funny that you bring that clip up because I was probably saying that just to dump on Nick at the time.
You know what's
we were
great?
probably just talking about Silent Hill, where Nick was probably like, "That's the best Silent
You know what's
Hill."
great? It's Carlos's birthday right now,
And he won.
And I'm pretty sure you just gave him exactly what he wanted.
Or what happened is I might have been also playing Silent Hill on the stream because I was playing a lot of horror stuff back then, and
Can we talk about Eternal Darkness?
yeah.
Eternal
I don't know if it's
Darkness-
actually better than Silent Hill 1. Actually,
Eternal
in
Darkness
hindsight.
is this weird little
it's weird as fuck.
survival, not survival horror, but just like horror,
Horror
atmospheric game,
adventure game.
adventure-y kind of game.
Yeah, a lot of items.
And the modern day component is that you're playing Buffy and her uncle who lives in a
Ancestors.
mansion
Oh, yeah.
dies. And you go to the mansion, and the cop's like, "Hey, can you identify this body?" And she's like, "Oh no, where's his head?" And he's like, "There's no head."
That's the best part. And she's like, "Why would you show this?" He's like, "I've had a long day. I'm sorry."
Dude, that cop is the worst cop in history.
He's like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I've had a long day."
And she's like, "Well, that headless corpse is wearing his ring, so it must be him." And
I love that fucking.
And then
cop.
he's like, "All right, whatever, lady," and then like leaves, and she stays the night in this mansion.
Yep.
And she's exploring this mansion, and she eventually finds his secret study. And in the secret study, upon his desk, is a tome bound in human flesh, decorated with intricate tiny bones, called the Book of Eternal Darkness.
Okay, get to the point.
No, I'm enjoying this. Let him keep going.
And the whole game is basically framed as her reading chapters from this book.
So that's why.
So, like, every time you read a chapter, you go back in time to a point in history, starting with, the first one you go back to ancient Rome, like in 40 BC or something like
a gladiator.
that. And you play as this guy named Pius, and Pius finds this, like, temple with these different artifacts that are devoted to different like elder evil gods, and he picks one, and then he basically becomes like the fucking little butt boy for that god, doing all of their shit here on Earth.
Yeah.
And he becomes this evil like lich that's like lives forever and is doing all this evil shit. So like here, this like gallery right here, Nick, that I'm in, is a place that a lot of characters end up going and finding the Book of Eternal Darkness for the first time, and it's got statues of like other characters you play throughout the game. So like all of these characters have a run-in with the Book of Eternal Darkness. I keep wanting to call it the Book of Vile Darkness, but it's the Book of Eternal Darkness.
You just call it the
Eternal Darkness.
Necronomicon.
It is the Necronomicon. And all of them end up suffering horrible fates because of it. They all just like end up dying. And it's like it's a really neat game because the whole framing of it is you'll do a chapter, you'll learn something, or you'll like solve a type of puzzle in that chapter, and then you'll bring it back out into the mansion, and then like as you learn how to solve different puzzles, or as you learn how to use magic, you can unlock more parts of the mansion that you're in as Buffy.
Stuff starts happening
And then creepy shit starts happening, and then as you're like going into new parts of the mansion, you're finding more chapters of the book, and you're going back and you're learning more about the history of this book and like the ineffable darkness that it represents that is encroaching upon humanity, and it's really neat. Some of the stuff I've really been enjoying so far is I like the magic system. Like, magic is really unique in this game. It's not just like, oh, you have a magic spell, now you can shoot fireballs. You know, it's something that you have to, like, it's something that you have to build up throughout the game. Like, you have to find these runes, and then you have to find these, like, spell seals, and you'll find these seals that either have 3 slots, 5 slots, or 7 slots, and the type of seal you use depends on how, like, determines how powerful the spell is, and then you're using that seal to combine runes to make different spells, and the spells have this alignment system where they're all aligned to the 3 gods.
Yeah.
And you'll encounter like magic out in the world. Like, maybe an enemy will be buffed with a specific type of magic, or there will be like a barrier somewhere, and you have to almost play this like rock paper scissors with like forming spells with different alignments to beat the spells that like you're encountering.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of a cool thing, and it's a very like kind of traditionalist idea of casting magic. Like, you have to like give yourself time, you have to stay still and like cast these runes, and then the spell takes effect. So it's a lot more than just like, oh, you've got like little pew pew fireballs that you're just,
it doesn't
like,
feel just
spamming,
like
you know?
it doesn't feel like just a weapon you've been given.
Right,
feels like
it's not just
something
like a reskin of
it's
a
an
very
act you have to do.
Yeah, and it's really, really neat. And the other cool thing too is like, even if you like, as you learn magic as these different characters throughout history, it like carries over into the real world. So it's almost like as if she's reading about them discovering these runes and magics, like she's learning how to do magic herself.
That's pretty cool.
But like, none of the
whole thing sounds
characters,
awesome.
like, even if you have magic and you start a new chapter with a character, that character can't use magic until they've encountered the book. So once they have the book, then they can. So like, I don't know, that's kind of a neat little detail that Carlos pointed out to me that I was like, oh, that makes too much sense.
Yeah.
You know?
No, the framing of this whole thing seems really, really cool. But correct me if I'm wrong, but like one of the big features of this game though is the sanity system.
Yeah,
correct.
That's like the thing that everyone talks about a lot, and it is
the real
really
fans
cool.
don't even care about.
It's really cool.
Well, the thing is, it's made out
really
to be
cool,
a
but
bigger
it's
deal
like-
than it actually is.
It's just
it's
the one
still
thing that
cool,
kind of dominates the discussion of the
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
and in effect, it's really just kind of more of like this thing that happens every once in a while, and it's not really like a big part of the moment-to-moment
Hold on,
gameplay.
but it is a defining part of your experience playing this game.
Absolutely, sure. I just didn't think that this game. I didn't think I deserved to lead the discussion with that. But now that we're here, yes, that is a thing that happens in this game. You've got a couple different meters, like your health and your MP, and then you also have one for sanity, being a true cosmic weird horror type title.
Very Cthulhu.
Yes.
Yeah, no. It has a lot to do with your sanity. So, for instance, the first time you see monsters, like whenever you're looking at a monster,
God damn it, Carl.
you're losing sanity. Oh yeah, Carlos recorded this footage. See this like this like
got
Dutch angle.
fucked.
You see how the camera like is like all kind of like
The
Dutch?
camera work is like strangely like
Yeah.
complex.
when your sanity.
Yeah, when you start losing sanity, like the camera starts shifting and you start getting this weird like alienating angles. And other things will happen, like it starts making it look like there's bugs crawling around on the screen. Yeah. It'll make it look like the environment you're in, there's like blood running down the walls. It'll do little things where you like hallucinate. For instance, there was one time last night I kept trying to use this amulet. Like the character I was playing, I believe it was this guy. Kamir, I think? Is this Kamir? Or... Kamir? I don't know. Anyway, he has an amulet that can heal you. But like I kept trying to use it, and like I would use it and cast the spell, and it would just like make me explode.
Yeah.
And then it would like wipe back and be like, oh no, never mind, you're fine. He's like,
that's
oh my
cool.
god, I'm going crazy. Or like sometimes you'll go to enter a room and it'll do the animation of you like going into the next room, and then you get in there, and like one time I went into a room and I was immediately surrounded by zombies, and then it popped up a thing that was like, your controller's not working, please try a different port, and the zombies like kill you because you're like,
You're almost all spoilers. Like,
everything."
I don't even want to bring up any because you might not have experienced them yet.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
But
bunch.
realistically, I just don't know when.
There's
I
a
ever
bunch of them.
experienced
Like
this stuff.
there was one where like one time I hit the start button to open the menu and it just like gave me a blue screen of death. One time I finished a chapter and it was like, okay, that's the end of the game. Come back for Eternal Darkness 2.
It says that's the end of the demo or whatever, right?
Oh no, this one was like, that's the end of the game. Wait for Eternal Darkness 2, Sanity's Revenge or something.
Oh, wow.
Like
Way to really twist
which was
the knife,
something
'cause
that
that's never
Silicon Knights
happening.
actually did with a previous game that they were like making fun of. But yeah, there's a lot of really interesting ideas.
I will say this is
the wide breadth of characters that you play and like their
There's
different
quite a few.
stories.
one of the
Yeah.
weaknesses
really
of this game, though, is that you go back to the same like locations. over
Yeah,
and
so
over and
that
over
was my
again.
problem when I played it back in the day. It's a lot of repetition,
Yeah.
and I understand it's a limitation and it's a way you can reuse assets and stuff like that. But it does just get very samey when it's like, I'm going back here again. Okay, sure.
I will say the
I mean-
environments that are there though look like the fact that the camera can twist it and show from different angles. Like,
Sure,
it, like
but, I mean,
you
this
never
is
see
not a
like,
short game.
The
In fact,
environment
this is
never
a game
breaks.
you're supposed to that you can theoretically play 3 times to get the full story.
You you're
And-
supposed to play 3 times.
It can get a little tiresome. And this is a very like adventure gamey thing. You know, it has a lot to do with the items that you find, and
Yeah.
it's not the progression in this game is not very traditional at all. This is a very weird kind of a different game.
Absolutely.
It is certainly different from pretty much any other game I've played, but like I'm into it.
Are you gonna
I'm
keep
really
going?
digging
It
it.
starts
Yeah,
strong.
Carlos and I are gonna keep going with it.
I will say though, like if you're not really hooked on the story, you're gonna.
It doesn't get a whole lot better.
Well, yeah, it's.
Oh, yeah, it does
Oh,
shit like
It
that.
doesn't really. It's not very
old-
modern TV looking, but back then it was kind of cool.
Man, I don't know. Like I like it, and I'm digging the story.
Yeah,
I'm
for
digging
sure.
what's happening.
This is a beloved game. Like,
yeah.
don't get me wrong.
I forgot this was still looking
it's,
nice.
It's certainly unique. I just remember some of the things that frustrated me about this game.
It's pretty fun.
The combat's
I like
okay.
those little, like that little thing crawling around on the ground.
Yeah.
No,
The
they
whole
take you
thing,
to
the whole point of that thing is that if it touches you, it transports you to this little dimension that you have to like get out of. Like
Oh.
that's how the enemy attacks you, is by like dropping you in these like weird dimensions filled with puzzles and enemies. It's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You're gonna play more next week.
Yeah, Carlos and I are gonna try to do this again next Wednesday.
Cool. Well, thank you. That looks cool. That's one of those games that I really wish I had played back in the day.
There's
Alas, I
nothing
did
stopping
not.
you.
Which kind of sucks.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a short
it
game,
doesn't
too.
have like
Yeah.
weird
And for
tank
the
controls.
dude, I mean, like for liking Silent Hill and for liking Resident
I know,
Evil and
it's-
like those kind of series, like this is one you should try.
I know
It's
it's
weird
it's
that you
it's on
didn't-
my pile of shame. It's something that I've always known is probably up my alley. But
Doesn't have to stay there.
I know. Well, the fact that I would probably have to bust out my Wii to play it, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
But didn't you sell your Wii or trade it in?
Yeah, I only have a Wii U. Is there anyone who plays on the Wii U?
No.
Damn it! You can't play GameCube games on the Wii U.
No.
No.
Fuck.
You can mod a Wii U to.
You can do that.
I don't
Pretty easily.
think I care that much. I'll borrow someone's
sophomore.
Wii or GameCube or something. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, we need to move on. There's a little bit of news we want to go over. We do have some community stuff to get through, of course. So let's move on to news. Of course, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Davis. He's just going to hit us with the news topics this week, and we're going to go based on the order he chooses. All right. This was actually alluded to at the beginning of the show when we read our comment from, I think, Uranium Bullet. He mentioned Microsoft is apparently reportedly interested in purchasing Obsidian.
Oh, of course
And I know
they
you
are.
brought up the history of Obsidian and
Okay,
Microsoft.
so, yeah,
This is your cue, Brad.
Let me. Of
course, Obsidian-
A lot of people are not happy about this.
Obsidian being the studio that's known for doing like Fallout New Vegas and
Fallout New Vegas,
Pathfinder.
KOTOR 2, South Park,
The Stick of Truth.
yeah.
I mean, and they did, Neverwinter Nights 2 and Mask of the Betrayer, which is specifically like a beloved thing. They've done a lot of Alpha Protocol, which I fucking love.
I forgot they did Alpha Protocol.
Yeah. This is a beloved Western RPG studio that makes really great stuff, despite never quite having like the budget of like a Bethesda or a BioWare. But they usually have fresh ideas and great writers, like Chris Avellone, and that's why people love Obsidian. And so Microsoft has been on a kind of a buying spree lately, which is good because they need
first party studios.
Need first
to
party
produce.
games because
If you can't have great exclusives, no one else can either, because we're gonna buy them all.
I mean, this is obviously kind of just building off of the momentum they started at E3, where they announced that they purchased Ninja Theory.
They
and-
purchased a shit ton of.
Yeah.
But Obsidian seems like a weird choice for Microsoft specifically. First of all, Microsoft has history with Obsidian, and I feel like it's one that not a lot of people know, but I learned a lot about it reading Jason Schreier's book that he released.
I keep
like
forgetting
last
about
year,
that
or a
was
couple
more than-
years
it was
ago,
a couple years ago.
which is really good, and I highly,
What's the name of the
highly
book, Brad?
recommend it. It's called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels.
Yeah.
And each chapter follows a different game, which you've probably heard of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But when they start the Obsidian chapter, which is ultimately about Pillars of Eternity, it starts out about this game called Stormlands, which was a big Western RPG that was that Microsoft had to deal with Obsidian. Obsidian was going to make this big open, this was a big budget. It was going to be a launch title or a launch window title for the Xbox One. It was this huge RPG on the scale of maybe something like a BioWare game or a Bethesda game, but it was Obsidian. And ultimately Microsoft canceled the project, and that very nearly completely killed Obsidian. And if it wasn't for the Kickstarter boom at the time and them kickstarting successfully Pillars of Eternity, which sort of kept them alive because Pillars of Eternity was a big Kickstarter success and it sold really well afterwards, Obsidian most assuredly would not exist anymore. So the fact that Microsoft already almost killed them,
It kind of makes you wonder.
But secondly, why is Microsoft even interested in Obsidian if they worked with them before? Things weren't working out so much to the point that they canceled a game. This seems crazy to me.
I mean, it also feels like lately Microsoft has kind of shuffled their priorities a bit. They're in a different place than they were when they first worked with Obsidian, and I think they're in a lot of ways they're reacting to the success of the PlayStation and their first party lineup and everything. So obviously there's a hint of desperation there, and also I'm sure on the
they have
Obsidian,
a history of working with this. I mean,
the thing is, Obsidian
you're
is
right,
also
but
on,
it is still this studio specifically. They have history with and a bad history with, so it's.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not potential for a future better relationship between the two
But the
companies.
funny thing is what I imagine that Microsoft would want to purchase Obsidian for is for them to make
the kind of game that they
the
already
kind of
canceled.
game that they already tried to make with Microsoft and failed,
Well,
which is a
but that's-
big
that was
budget Western RPG.
But that was a while ago. And I mean, people change. I'm sure all the people who are working at Obsidian aren't the same people. I'm sure the people who are working at Microsoft aren't the same people. It's one of those scenarios where Microsoft needs something. And, I know some people in the past have complained about our kind of shitting on Microsoft. And we're not shitting on Microsoft necessarily. It's more than just the fact that they don't have content.
We want.
What are we supposed to do when they don't have the content we want? And they know that. They understand that they don't have it, which is why they're buying studios.
I think
they're like,
we all
hey,
want
we
nothing.
We
all
get,
want nothing more than to see Microsoft produce.
definitely.
They have so much money. How do you go from canceling Skybound to just buying all these studios?
I mean,
you had the money, assholes.
Correct. I don't know why that happened. None of us. I mean it's one of those things. So in this instance, they saw Obsidian, who is a company who often makes really at least decent, not always amazing, but pretty
studio,
fucking
right?
solid games with generally a smaller budget. And they said, hey, you know what? Let's buy this company, give them a decent budget, and see what they can actually do with that.
I bet the first game you see from Obsidian with Microsoft, if that deal ends up going through, is going to be something not quite on the scale of what did you say it was called? Stormlands. Something
But
not
I don't
quite
think it's
on
going to
that
be
scale.
like an isometric RPG like they've been doing.
No. I think it's probably going to be something more, maybe more in lines of like Alpha Protocol in terms of scope, just with a better. I don't think you're going to.
Sure, but
you're
that's
probably not
another
gonna,
kind of rocky development that they had with Sega. Like Obsidian has had this remember
Sega's not Microsoft.
they had an Aliens RPG that got canceled.
That's true.
I'm just saying, this has been a difficult studio.
But it's also a studio that
to
has
work with.
It's a studio that has weathered so many cancellations and bad luck.
Yeah.
They're
and
no
whatnot.
Telltale.
You're right.
They're still trucking.
They're at least managing their company better.
And it might have been a situation where, I'm sure Pillars of Eternity 2 did all right. I mean, it was definitely critically well received, and that type of game sells well to a certain audience. But, I mean, it might have been a situation where, Obsidian couldn't survive another...
Yeah, there might have been some desperation on the Obsidian side of this
true.
too.
Yeah, they might have been desperate.
And you know what?
And a lot of those people, whatever. It sucks, dude. Because remember when Microsoft fucking bought Ensemble?
Yeah.
and they did fucking Halo Wars, and they were doing other Halo stuff for them. But like, as soon as they shipped Halo Wars, they just fucking shut them down.
Yeah.
Like Obsidian is this classic studio that like. Like we've seen it happen with EA countless times where they just shut down, this classic studio because their project didn't do
right,
well.
and
like
that
would
is
be
definitely
so tragic.
That is definitely a reason to be concerned. But again, I think Microsoft demonstrated that they're trying to push forward like a totally different outlook on development and like.
I mean, I don't want them to push any outlook.
Sure, but I will say,
Hate outlook.
like, look at some of these studios they bought. Compulsion,
which hate Outlook.
Yeah.
Compulsion, which just shipped a game that was not well received,
Compulsion
and
did
Undead
Contrast,
Labs, which shipped a game which was not very well received. Like,
Didn't they buy the studio? Did We Happy Few?
yeah,
Yeah.
That's
that was Compulsion.
That's
Okay, yeah.
Compulsion. Like it's good that they're on a buying spree, but these are studios that.
You would hope that a few genuine like gems would come out of those studios, and that they could still, but like,
I mean,
we just haven't seen it yet.
At the end of the day, they're still the fucking studio that shut down Skybound, and that scares the fuck out of me because the pedigree's there for that game, right? Maybe they needed more time, maybe they needed more money. I mean, obviously, right?
Well, Brett,
but like it had to be in such a state that like they're like this is not going to work out.
The
But, like,
problem
look at
is
his
it's a
track
large
record.
corporation, and when they see something that's like, you know what, we're not going to put any more money. The corporations like this, they put hard fucking like, if you're not done by him, we're not putting any more money into this. Fuck off. It's one of those things where smaller studios, it's like we're struggling. We really, if we need to extend it, we're gonna stretch out our budget.
They're more willing to work with them.
Yeah, but then you have big corporations. They're like, this is it. If you go over budget, fuck off. We're done. Like we're not gonna sink any more money into this.
But which is ultimately why it's scarier when they make a studio purchase.
Yeah.
Because when they're just working with the studio, like, hey, they almost killed Obsidian once. Platinum really. Remember, if it wasn't for Nier randomly blowing up,
true.
Platinum might not be around anymore. But they survived because they weren't owned by Microsoft. But when that publisher owns you and something is like a huge disappointment, then it just fucking goes away.
Yeah.
Like Ensemble,
I mean, in general, like look at the way that Hollywood studios and minor kind of production houses work. Like in general, any sort of larger corporation buying up smaller competitors just narrows the field of competition and is probably in the long run going to narrow the scope of types of games we get.
Yeah.
So I mean, I always feel kind of weird about this stuff.
We can only wait and see. We do need to move on.
You're right, you're right. I'm just ranting because I'm not happy about it, but obviously it's probably a pretty smart choice for Microsoft, and it's good that they're getting first party output. I
am uncertain about it. I do want to wait and see kind of what the first project that's announced. I think it's really going to depend on the scope and like to see. I would love to see Obsidian just make maybe a game that's smaller in scope, but like way more polished than we're used to seeing from Obsidian.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Let's move on. Hit us with another news topic, Chris Davis. Sony has finally caved, or not caved, they've been working on this for a while, but they've announced that soon players will be able to change their PlayStation Network IDs.
I like mine. I don't need to change it.
I hate mine. I'm really looking forward
I
to
think
it.
I'm gonna change
It's just
mine
like my initials on my birthday. Like it's just because like back in the day I didn't give two shits about what I named it, and then I didn't thinking that I could just change it if I think it's something better, and then found out no, I can't do that. I remember I was on that for the longest time. I was trying to figure out a good Twitter handle, and it took me forever. And I finally got one that I'm happy with, and I would like to.
I've had the same handle since 1999.
It's because it's a good handle.
Yeah,
bro.
Yep. I don't need to change it.
Yeah, the thing is, there is a caveat to this, and this is what I'm not quite sure because the reason it's taken so long is because they've been trying to make it work with their system and everything. It's not really just a simple like change it and make it applicable across the board. This is only going to be applicable like if you change your name, it's only going to be applicable with certain games. So I don't know how that works. I guess like if it's a game that's not compatible, it's still going to show your old
maybe
place. I don't know how that's going to work. It's weird.
I mean, my assumption is any ID is probably tied to like a number. I'm sure they have some actual like ID number tied to it. So if when you refer to on the back end of Sony's PlayStation Network, when you refer to my user, like
It's referring to an ID
it's
number,
probably
actually.
referring to an ID number. But some games I could see them, independently developed, not having access to that number, so they refer to the username.
Yeah.
And if it's something maybe in the past that has been, it might be more difficult to do. I don't know.
We'll see what happens, but I'm excited at the prospect. I think this is a long time coming. They said it's been rather difficult to get it working, but it's coming down the pipe. So that's exciting. And the last news topic, this is kind of a follow up to what we talked about last week. I think it was last week.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's the big fallout from Telltale. That studio is all but finished, and there's only a very, very they even laid off more people that were working on the skeleton crew that was left over after the mass firings at Telltale.
Yeah, probably because they're trying to avoid the lawsuit of actually shutting down versus laying off a bunch of people.
Probably.
Which is their loophole for not having to pay severance.
And there's been a lot of discussion about what the fate of The Walking Dead is, because especially, this is a series that they've been working on for so long, and it's it's some beloved characters, and no one wants to see the series end or like not end. You know what I mean? Like stop 2 episodes in and then never find a proper ending. There was talk of it maybe finishing like comic book form and stuff. But it turns out that they've somehow the details of this have not yet been specified, so we don't know exactly what this entails. But the company Skybound has somehow picked up this property and is going to be finishing work on the final season of The Walking Dead, working with ex-Telltale developers.
Supposedly,
allegedly. Who knows how that's going to work out? And what really sucks about this is that despite the fact that yes, we may end up seeing the final 2 episodes of Telltale, it doesn't necessarily fix this problem for like all 250 plus people who
correct. No, it doesn't
lost
fix
their
it at all.
job randomly.
Is that true? Skybound's owned by Robert Kirkman?
I think that is true.
That
That is
Oh,
true.
wow.
Also, Skybound is also the studio that's going to be publishing the physical edition of Hollow Knight on PS4 and Switch next
What else
year.
have they done?
I don't know. Every time I go to their website, I see nothing but Walking Dead shit, which makes sense now that I know it's Robert Kirkman's company. Yeah. So yeah, they're going to be
This
finishing.
thing is gross because like this.
No, what?
I don't know. I feel like maybe this project. I mean, they're saying, "Oh, we're gonna try to get some of these ex-devs," but like these people got like fucked over. Their lives got turned upside down. They should like be out there looking for like real work, not like, "Hey, maybe we're gonna finish this shit." What the fuck is
Yeah, but,
Skybound
like-
gonna do with these people afterwards?
Well,
Let 'em go.
like throw them out too. Like I don't know.
well, hang on. I
It's
mean,
probably
like,
gonna be done with contract
like
work.
Skybound's probably going to fairly compensate them for their work, right?
No, at the time,
sure,
yeah.
but like that.
but not 250 of them. Like
No.
But now it's just a scenario where now this is like, I won't say it's freelance work, but it's kind of I'm gonna finish this one gig and then I'm still out of a job.
also, what does that
Sure.
what does that mean? Like you got to imagine, especially given the situation at Telltale, having it switch hands and now be worked on a different company. Like, are those last 2 episodes even going to feel like a natural continuation of episodes 1 and 2? I feel like there's gonna have to be some kind of
I think the fact that this is Robert
noticeable
Kirkman's,
difference.
that this is Robert Kirkman's company is going to like deflect some of that criticism, but I mean, like, how involved is he in this whole thing, you know?
I don't know.
I mean, the idea being that, like, okay, Telltale's gone belly up, so the property's returning to the company of the guy who originally created this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like best case scenario, right?
Yeah.
But
Like I would imagine,
Is
like
it?
this is probably going to buy them some time to finish it. I don't think you're going to see the next 2 episodes come out in the same timely fashion as we've been seeing them before. But like the set, like you got to imagine, like they're probably picking up maybe like a 10th or like a small fraction of the number of people.
This
that
doesn't. This absolutely does not negate what happened to the people who were working at Telltale at the time of its
Yeah.
closure
correct.
at all. It's kind of maybe. I mean, the worst thing I can see here is that like it's maybe dousing some of that PR fire, so there isn't as much attention being paid to the fact that there's still a couple hundred employees who are out.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some people that might take this opportunity out of,
But as
out
far
of
as,
pure
like,
necessity.
As far as like methods by which this series could have been completed, which a lot of people seem to care way too much about, I mean, this is kind of the most elegant solution, isn't it?
Probably, yeah. I mean,
there's not much else. It's either you do nothing or you do this kind of.
if we were going to get it, then this is probably
I just
the best
want to
way to do it.
nobody that there's no executive at Telltale or formerly at Telltale that's going to get any dime from this, right?
Right.
Like that's what's super fucking important.
I
Yeah.
don't know, man.
I certainly fucking hope not. I mean, but you also got to think like if Skybound must have bought the property, the actual video game property for The Walking Dead from Telltale. Does that mean they paid Telltale?
No, yeah, it's a lot. They license.
Well, I know they own The Walking Dead.
No, Telltale doesn't.
No, I know. I'm saying Robert Kirkman owns
Right.
The Walking Dead.
Well, probably a large.
It's confusing because Skybound.
No, because Robert Kirkman created Walking Dead for IDW, which was a creator-owned content publisher. So he owns Walking Dead. Oh, actually, him and
But does that mean
the other guy.
Skybound
Oh,
owns
what's the
it,
artist?
or is it specifically Robert Kirkman who owns it?
well, if he owns The Walking Dead and he owns Skybound, I'm
I
pretty
guess-
sure the licensing is not an issue.
So was any? I'm just curious. I guess.
And if the other company
Yeah.
that held the license doesn't exist anymore, there's no contractual obligation.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be curious. I wonder if we'll ever see like specifics of like how this came to be, and like I feel like this would make a fascinating like documentary at the end of like just the fucking fallout of Telltale and how The Walking Dead ended up getting made and released and all. It's a really interesting, albeit shitty situation for most people involved.
Yeah.
I bet it feels scummy even being this part of the studio that's working on it at this point.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but I mean,
that's
there
like
are a
some
certain number of
girls.
people who are going to have to take this job out of necessity.
Where even
There's
is
talk,
Skybound?
There's
Is it-
talk about people who I think it's in San Francisco. I want to say I could be totally wrong with that though. There's talk. I was hearing talk about like people who work for the studio who like were here working for Telltale on a what do they call it? Is it a traveler's visa or something like that? So like when you become unemployed, you have a very short window of time
like
to get
days.
rehired,
Deported.
or you have to you get deported. So like there's probably like panic setting in for a lot of these people.
I mean, the state of immigration in the country today. That's
I would just hope that Skybound doesn't like take advantage of this shitty situation
Hope not.
and does compensate these people well.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. If we ever find out anything more, we'll talk about it. But that's kind of that's where the situation lies. You know what? This whole thing has kind of made me really hesitant about like the whole nature of like episodic. You know, there's this dark side to episodic gaming because there's Hitman, which like I found trouble even getting interested in it because I was waiting for each episode to come out, which is a different side of the coin.
Wait,
and
that's
then
not
there's
the dark
this,
side.
like
Oh.
who? I mean, yeah, it's just like it's on one end. It's like for me, it was hard to even get into it because I didn't want to have to take a month-long break between each episode of something. And then on the other end, it's like, do you want to invest in something that could potentially get fucking just cut off at the knees at any moment?
That and the real dark side is that it sounded like Telltale was just endless crunch for them.
No, I know.
because there was no like shipping a
I'm
project.
talking about
It
from
was
the consumer side, the dark side and the consumer side of just like, do you want to like throw your money at something that could potentially just be cut out, like
Sure,
literally
I mean,
canceled
that
in the
happens
middle
all
of
the
it?
time. There's a lot of indie episode stuff,
Like,
indie projects that are episodic that just stop.
I know, and that's fucking awful.
It is.
That's I would rather see a game just get outright canceled than like play half of it and then find out that the other half's never getting made. It seems weird. It's like when a show you like decides to cancel itself in the it gets canceled like the middle of its season or something. Like it's the
that
fucking
always
worst.
sucks.
Yeah, but a lot of indie episodic stuff, it's more of just like a monetization model. Like they can't afford to do.
Yeah,
a
they can't
full
afford to
game.
just do the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah.
So if that episode 1 bombs, it's just like, oh well.
Anyways, yeah. Well, we'll get if there's anything else to update on that, we'll return to it. But let's move on to the community.
Before,
What?
did y'all see that rumor
What?
about the casting calls from Pinewood Studios for potentially Bully 2?
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh,
That's-
shit!
See, y'all
If
get excited
that's-
about Red Dead, but I get excited about Bullet.
Well, no. Obviously, it'd be Rockstar is what they're working on after Red Dead. But I
fucking
mean,
hope so.
if that's true, like, oh shit!
Huh?
I'm
You don't like Red Dead?
No, I do like Red Dead. Here's a clip. I do like fucking Red Dead, but it doesn't. I get more excited about Bully. I do like Bully.
Says the
more.
casting calls are mainly for teenage young roles involving placeholder names with mild violence and profanity. like
I
that.
see more. I
There's been
see
talk-
more potential. With,
Yeah, well, it's been talked about for a while that
that's pretty
potentially Bully
broad.
too.
There's
I
there's,
know, but
Maybe they're finally casting for Agent.
well, it also says that we've seen Rockstar staff come into engagement with these listings, but
Agent.
yeah.
I mean, there's been rumors off and on about Bully 2 being in development for years.
What if Agent is kind of like a Kids Next Door sort of agent thing?
maybe.
No.
What was that?
It's Bully meets James Bond.
What was that show? Agent something. The kids.
Codename Kids Next Door.
Codename Kids
yeah,
Next
that's
Door.
what it was.
Yeah.
All
I forgot
right.
it was Codename Kids Next Door.
Yeah. There you go.
Let's move on. We got a community segment we need to get
Do we?
into. We do.
Oh shit.
And before we get into, of course, we do read questions from our supporters on Patreon every single week. But now we're trying something new. We're gonna do our first supporter spotlight. As I mentioned, we updated our Patreon campaign. If you pledge $3 or more to to our Patreon, you're entered in a drawing every month. We'll potentially pick you for supporter spotlight. Essentially, what we do. If you're picked, we send you a short survey asking you some questions about your history with gaming and a little bit about yourself. It gives you an opportunity to have like a platform to share your opinions, ask some questions, that kind of thing. So and we're gonna kind of spread these out because we asked about I think 8 questions or so. So we're gonna spread these out over the next couple shows throughout October. But as I mentioned earlier, our first supporter spotlight is actually KNC Cito. What's up, Crispy?
K and Cito.
As we mentioned last week, K and Cito is what we call him. But
the
it's-
C is silent.
The C.
I mean, reading it
We're-
is definitely KNCC.
yes, it is K and Cito. I'm going to get to that. So the first question we ask K and Cito, or K and Cito, is, what is your name and where are you from? He says, hello, my name is Luisito.
Lucito.
Sorry, Lucito. And I'm from a suburb of Chicago. I've been lurking around since the first Project M, and when I was one of the dueling chatters of the week in episode 409. I lost to my opponent, I think, due to a coin flip by Chris Davis.
Good job, Chris Davis.
If you want, yeah, hit the mic.
All right.
I apologize.
There we go.
All
He
right.
literally just. I apologize. I mostly listen to the audio version of the podcast due to my overnight job, but will often go back and watch the archives in the morning. Say hi to KNC Cito seeing this in the future. Hello, KNC Cito in the future.
What's up, dude? Hope you have a good day at work.
Yeah. Or night, right?
Or, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, good night at work.
You figure out the details.
Good morrow.
We also asked him, and we actually talked about this last week. This question was kind of born last week on the show. But we asked him what the origin of his chat name is. So he says, well, Cito is the last part of my first name, and often a motif in many of the nicknames my friends call me, like Brocito, quote unquote. The K and C part is there because I wanted an acronym in my name and actually means, quote unquote, king of no confidence. This is because I have a lack of confidence in myself. However, nowadays I'm working on it and I'm doing much better on that front. Also, I don't really mind if you pronounce it without the C, K and Cito. I'm not really picky about that. Interesting. King of no confidence. Well, I hope maybe hopefully this gives you a boost.
Without the
of
C,
confidence.
then it's King of No Cito. What is that?
Yeah, who knows? So we said, what is an interesting fact about yourself that the community might find interesting or funny? He said, the first and only time I've ever been in an airplane was to jump out of it for a tandem skydive for my 25th birthday. No fear of heights or anything like that, just mostly traveled by car or train for all of my life. Wow.
So he's never landed in an airplane.
He's taking, oh my god,
He's taking one up, but he didn't come down on
he's
it.
taken off in an airplane but never landed.
That's only half a plane ride.
and he's lived to tell about it. That is an unusual thing.
Jumped out
Is
of
that a common
fucking
thing for people to
Yeah, why
not
not?
fly, like never fly just out of coincidence? I don't know.
Did she not a while back that
Jeez,
guy that
Nick.
jumped out of a
I don't know,
plane
I'm
without
just-
a parachute?
Wait, what?
Nick in his ivory tower over here. Do
I
people
fly-
not fly? Is that a thing today?
I fly,
A little
dude.
classist of you, don't you think?
Yeah, no, a guy a while back, not too long ago, jumped out of a plane without a parachute.
Was
He
okay?
landed in like a giant net.
Oh,
And he was okay?
Yeah?
Was the net okay?
No.
I think I did see that.
What kind of net
Who
would
does that?
save you from that?
Well, like it was designed to like slow him down. So when he landed in it, it
That
slowed.
must have been a huge net,
It
though.
was
It must have been
fucking-
very high up, right?
Yes, both of those things.
And how did it not just, like, cube him?
It did, but go watch it.
Like, he just falls through in a
Oh.
bunch of pieces.
Yeah, it wasn't a net of wire. It wasn't like
Hey,
razor
I saw
wire.
Cube.
Oh
Cube?
my god.
All right. Anyway.
There was a booby trap in the movie Cube that cheese grated a guy.
All right. Do we want to read his top 5 this week or next week? So
Let's do it next week. There's so much.
Okay,
We should
yeah,
spread
so
these
we're-
out.
Yeah,
we're gonna
I don't
spread this out. So next
It's
week,
late too.
next week we're gonna read his top 5 games of all time, and we're gonna close out the month. We're gonna give him an opportunity to do his own 4-player minute. So we'll do that in the last week of the show. So first of all, thank you very much for your support on Patreon, K and Cito. Also, if you're a subscriber on Twitch, that also you're also part of the drawing as well. It just so happens our first supporter spotlight was a patron. So if you're interested in potentially becoming a supporter spotlight in the future, it's a $3 pledge on Patreon or a $5 subscribe on Twitch. So yeah, we'll get back with K and Cito next week. We'll read his top 5 games of all time. And the game that he wants to pitch as like what he considers to be an underrated game. So with that said, Nolan,
What's up?
you have some questions from our supporters?
I
on
do.
Patreon?
But before I get to that, we have one new patron this
Oh,
week.
shit.
Tyler is our new patron.
Awesome.
Just
Thank you,
today,
Tyler.
yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yesterday became a patron. So appreciate that. Now let's get to some questions from our patrons. First question this week from Fuzzy Turd. Nick is on a flight. Of course. That's how Nick gets around. He isn't worried because
only
he
way I
saw
fly. I
what
travel.
appeared to be a human pilot walk onto the plane. He is then called into the cockpit to see the pilot piloting the plane. The pilot is an android with a red ring on his temple. He is crazy. Can an android be crazy or just break
He's
programming?
riffing on Detroit.
Yes, because he is mistreated and threatens to crash the plane into a mountain. What does Nick do?
He loses his fucking head.
So
He just runs up and down the aisle screaming.
I completely break down.
He jumps out of the airplane and hopes there's a net waiting for him.
There's real no. I mean, you try and talk the android off the ledge, right? What did you typically do in Detroit when they had red rings, right?
Oh, you hit him with a paradox?
He killed him.
I mean, I feel
Does
like
a set of all sets contain itself? And then the android blows up, and then you take over the plane.
that's exactly what I would do. No, I mean, think about it. In Detroit, what did they? Was there ever a point where I can't remember? Did an android with a red ring ever come back from that point, or were they just kind of fucked at that point?
Dude, like, Tara gets
David did.
red ring at one point.
I mean, then he got fucked, but he came back.
And what's his face? Marcus. He goes red ring, like, in the
All right,
first
then
chapter
yeah,
you meet him.
I would.
the Xbox 360 went red
But
ring.
that's only because, like, really, what's the difference between an android and a person, right?
I would ask him if there's anything I could
only
bring him
because
to make his flight more comfortable.
Gage sucks at writing.
I would ask him if there's anything I could bring him that would make the flight more comfortable.
You wouldn't like call your brother?
What is my brother gonna do?
He's a pilot. He got
I
to land
know.
a plane.
Wait, does your brother
Remotely?
fight
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the
that's how
future.
they. That's like
He'd be like, Nick,
like the air
press
traffic
the
control
land
has to like
button.
talk you down.
No, but like you make it sound like I could call my brother and he would like, let me just get
No,
my
you can't use
portable
cell phones on a
pilot
plane.
out of my.
I mean,
You can.
You
You shouldn't.
can. I mean, if you turn it off, the plane will crash. As long
Well,
as you keep it
the only
on.
reason why they tell you not to use a cell phone on a plane is because it might interfere with the Android pilot's functioning,
Oh shit.
Oh my god!
which is already a problem.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Next question from
what if
Nexus.
that's why he red ringed?
What's a little known piece of trivia,
Do the hot towel
gaming
trick.
or non-gaming, that each of you find interesting?
Trivia?
Yeah, a little piece of trivia, gaming or non-gaming.
Just any piece of trivia?
anything.
That's so broad. It could be so
maybe
many.
stick to gaming.
or non-gaming.
That could be so many things.
Did you know that the vulva?
No,
All right, piece of trivia.
I refuse to believe that Crispy does not have like.
No, you
An
put me
entire
on the fucking
encyclopedia.
spot. I spout my trivia organically when it's appropriate. I don't just... I'm not a fucking Snapple cap. I don't just have
Little known
something ready to
fact.
go.
Little known fact, little known piece of trivia. Crispy, not a Snapple cap.
Not a Snapple cap.
Shit.
I'm gonna think about this one. Let's circle back around to it.
Okay, hang on.
Wait.
I think
He's
I've got something. No. Wait, okay, how about this? And I think we've talked about this before, and I think I've got the math correct on this, but, I'm sure you'll tell me if I don't. But
will.
if you take a 52 card deck of playing cards and you shuffle it, the odds are that no deck in the world that's ever existed has ever been in that permutation that it is right now.
But like that's an understatement. It's not
accurate.
even close.
It's like not It's like there's like fucking
in fact,
septillion different like.
But even that is like not a like the only way you can quantify that number is by like setting up like some like astronomical like scenario and. Basically, that's not even a good story to bring up unless you have your little scenario.
The scenario was
described.
something like if you walked around the world and took a drop out of the ocean, and you kept doing that until you completely emptied the oceans, and then you kept going around the world and picked up every piece of sand on a beach or something like that. That's
how many.
But it's still
permutations of a deck of cards.
Yeah.
But it had something to do with walking around the world, so it was like. How many miles? I don't know.
I think I also saw something.
How many
you
miles
could be
you
shuffling
would walk
that entire
like,
time.
It's 52 factorial.
Yeah,
it's the fact that 52 factorial is such a large number. I think it's also I saw something that was like, oh, if you had a sheet, if you had a sheet of paper for every 52 factorial, it would reach from the Earth to the sun and like back or something like that.
I got another one because we looked this up.
paper.
We looked this up in my D&D group. If you roll any number on a D20 3 times in a row, the odds of that happening are the exact same as winning the Oregon State Lottery. So if you're ever playing D&D and you roll 3 20s or 3 1s or 3 15s in a row, just know that like
you could have
that's
won the lottery.
impossible. Like, not impossible, but highly unlikely.
You think like that's not so far fetched, right?
It's crazy.
Math is incredible, says the Green Goddamn.
I'm sorry. If we all understood math better, that might have been incredibly interesting.
But like, man, yeah.
All right, let's move on. Next question from Alfian. What is the weirdest thing a guest has done at your house, or something weird you have done at someone else's house?
Oh God, weirdest thing.
Ask them for a poop knife.
Weirdest thing someone has done at.
It doesn't have to involve bodily functions, Chris Davis.
When I was living with David, someone tried to kill us once.
What?
That is weird.
That qualifies.
Wait, what happened?
Yeah.
There's a story there, right?
Well, I mean,
Killed you how?
What do you mean someone tried to kill you?
You can't stop
like tried
there.
to murder you or like did something that would have
murder.
killed
Well,
you?
murder our roommate at the time,
What?
and we had to fight him off. But he was eventually a bunch of cops showed up and they were like all holding him down because
why?
he's like bigger than me and he was on fucking
Drugs.
Booze and Xanax.
He was
just
on the marijuana, wasn't he?
fucked up. It was crazy.
Wait,
Yeah.
why did he try to kill your roommate though? What was the instigating?
Well, there's a story
incident?
there, but yeah, he was literally
He
like,
needed a poop knife.
Yeah, we
holding
want-
up on a wall, like choking him to death, and a serious fighting off of a dude trying to kill us ensued. But it was,
That is a weird thing someone did in your house.
yeah.
I don't know. If
It's
this,
not that weird.
I don't know. If
It's
this is
just-
so like
it happens.
there was a time.
He is
So
big, though.
It does happen.
there was a time where I was staying at for the weekend with an ex-girlfriend's at her parents' house, right? Mm-hmm. So, and we've been together for a while at this point. But I was like, this was my first time meeting her parents, and it was very much going to be like so it's like, okay, well, it's time to get ready for bed, but like I'm not going to assume anything. So it's like can I just get I'll sleep on the couch, or guest room or whatever. And I remember her dad saying, "Oh, you can sleep in the same bed together." I was like, "What?" It just felt really weird. Mm-hmm. Especially considering our age. Like we weren't like I was
Cool dad.
like
So is the weird
must
thing
have
you
been,
did
like-
in the guest's house
no
was your girlfriend?
No, it was they asked me like
she was pretty
a girlfriend's parents asked me to sleep in the same bed.
They didn't
with
ask you. They're like, "Hey, Nick, please sleep with our dog."
Yeah, that is exactly how
That's
it's
not how that went.
He's
That's
like,
how it-
don't
no, no,
worry,
that
I'll be
is
sitting in the
weird.
corner
That's
watching
how it
the whole
felt.
time.
That is how it felt at the time. I must have been. I think I was like a freshman, and
He's like, you know what? Why don't you just sleep in the same bed with me and my wife?
I think I had like.
Dad was just wingmaning you.
No, I think I was like a freshman in college.
you know
I
what?
was-
Take this fruit roll up with you.
That's
God.
terrible.
I hate you, Nolan. I hate you.
Yeah, I think that's the story.
Okay, that you know,
think that's-
All right.
You know what? You might
don't-
be right, but
don't
I
have
don't think
any-
that ever happened in my house.
I don't think I have any. Let's move on. We got more questions. We have several more questions, so we need to get through
I've
these.
guessed at someone else's.
Ms. Elizabeth.
It never happened in a house.
I don't think I've done anything weird. I'll
Wait,
say that.
really?
No, moving on. Nolan, go.
Ms. Elizabeth, what is your greatest fear? Mine was when I was a kid, I thought I was going to be abandoned and forgotten about.
Wait, what was our greatest fear when we were a kid?
No, just in general. Greatest fear.
Oh,
Dude.
I don't know. I've got so many.
There's quite a few.
Wait, instead of giving you my greatest, I'm gonna give you a weird one that I was thinking about the other day, and like probably around the time I was in like. Okay, you know when you see something scary and then like you kind of just like are afraid that it's gonna like
Kill you? Yeah.
no, like you're afraid that like you're gonna turn around and see it or something.
Yeah.
You know,
It's gonna be there.
So like I used like when I was in probably middle school, high school, I saw like a bunch of pictures of Lenin's tomb. You know Lenin in like his tomb in Moscow, and they have his body in state, and like I'd never really seen like preserved bodies before, and like he looks fucking weird, and like I kept like I got like it freaked me out for like a week, and like I kept thinking I was just gonna turn around and like Lenin's corpse was gonna just like fall over on me, and I'd be like ah, like it was like it was so weirdly specific, but I remember like I was just thinking about it the other day, and like it. Oh, I don't. Like,
I just looked in chat, and the first thing
that
I
fucking
saw was
bald, creepy motherfucker.
the first thing I look up in chat. I just see is Linden is cleaned good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's strange.
And then like I imagine like struggling to get the corpse off me, and then like his arm breaking and like his head falling off or something, and it's like I read about it later, and apparently the Russian government spends like millions of rubles every year just preserving his body.
They do. Yeah.
That is strangely specific. I think my biggest fear, and this is I didn't dream this. I was probably because of that fucking open water movie, but the thought of being stranded, just floating alone in the ocean with no land or anything around me.
You won't survive very long.
I know. Well, thank you. Brad.
Especially Nick.
That makes me feel
All
so
you gotta
much better
do is
about
just
it.
put your head underwater and take a big breath, and that'll be it.
Which is what that one of the.
I've never seen the
person
movie.
did
The
at
movie's
end
too
of
scary
open,
for me.
At the end of Open Water, that's what they did.
Wait, really?
I mean, you drown pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Especially Nick.
Yeah.
Anybody. I don't know. I think it's one of those things. Like for me, it's like plane crashes. Every single time I get on a plane, I'm like, what if it crashes?
I know the odds. Conceptualize.
I know the odds are so low that it's just like not even like something to worry about. But still, every single time I get on a plane,
I thought about saying that to the answer to this question, but I am so scared of that I just choose to push it deep down inside of me and not think about it or acknowledge it. That's why.
Or like when I'm on a roller coaster, I'm like, this is the time when like a bolt comes loose
that
and I
happens,
fucking
though, more often than
and I just die.
You ever seen that like roller coaster that's on top of that casino in Las Vegas, like the big tower? They've got a roller coaster. It's literally just like a 15-foot length of track, and all it does is just like roll off the side, and then they like pull it back and they roll it off the side again, and it looks like it's just gonna fall off. What the fuck? It's fucking terrible.
All right. Anybody anything else, Brad?
Now that I'm thoroughly scared.
Yeah. Greatest fear.
Clowns.
Fuck you.
But you're such a fucking clown.
You are literally a clown.
Circus clowns.
You still qualify.
Next question from Mr. Greentos. After clocking in 63 hours to beat Assassin's Creed Odyssey at max level, 7 of which were idle or paused, and hearing the news that certain journalists felt the game took too long to level up, I personally felt that isn't true. Do you think game journalists often don't get as much time to review a product realistically as a public consumer would, given their need to ensure a review is out in time with everyone else's reviews?
I think that in many cases, I think it depends on on the publisher and how soon they decide to release the game to reviewers and whatnot. But I do think that maybe especially if it's a big game like Assassin's Creed, that might tend to paint their like the stress of like trying to finish a game that big in crunch time could potentially paint their opinion of a game in a negative light sometimes. I mean, most of what reviewers had to say about Assassin's Creed Odyssey was positive.
Yeah.
I did hear that come up a lot, but I also think, especially based off of his, he said about 67 hours, about 60 hours after you take out the
hours.
So about 57 hours.
I think there is one big distinction between video game reviewers and like a certain subset of video gamers, in that the video game reviewers have a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I received a review copy of Skyrim 10 days before release.
Wait,
and I put 40 hours into it, and I got shit for basing my review after 40 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, you have to pay.
The most common complaint
you got to play 4,000 hours.
I haven't
of that
even
game.
touched what Skyrim is.
Yeah,
I think that is definitely a problem, especially with larger games. It can be very difficult to actually spend, especially from a reviewer perspective. Yeah. If it's not a game that's 5 hours long, if it's a game that's fucking like like one of the newer Assassin's Creeds or like a Skyrim or a Fallout or something, there is no physical way, or Dragon Quest, there's no physical way a reviewer can be handed a review copy any amount of time before the game release and play it enough for a fan to say they have experienced it. You have to make a judgment based on what you have played. Yeah. If there is a time where I'm sure some reviewers for Assassin's Creed Odyssey specifically did feel like they had to maybe grind a little bit, because that might have been because they were trying to, I don't want to say rush through the game, but try to make, I really want to get to this next segment, but I've been kind of rushing before. And if you're rushing a lot, by the time you get to some segment, you might be underleveled. And so then you do feel like you have to grind. So there's definitely, and that's one of the things that I always, I don't say, a fear, but it's always kind of one of my big regrets of doing this podcast, is I do feel like I can't spend all the time I want to spend on certain games. Yeah, I can't spend. XCOM 2 has been on the back of my mind for fucking like a month now. I really want to go back and play because I finished the game, I think, but I didn't do the expansion. I didn't spend a whole lot of time with it. I've been running to go back and play it, but I'm like, I can't do that. I don't have the time. I have to. There's like 38 other games that came out this year I need to play.
I'm scared I'm not going to finish Odyssey before Red Dead comes out. I mean, there's also, but the thing is, like, based off of his anecdote about the time it took him to finish it, like, it falls in line perfectly with pretty much the amount of time I spent with Origins. And I also think it just kind of depends, because, like, reviewers are also and I'm not claiming to know how companies handle their review assignments and whatever, but, like, in a lot of cases, people are assigned to review a game, not necessarily dependent on whether they like that game or are a fan of that game. So if someone who's kind of lukewarm on Assassin's Creed in general on a personal level is asked to review Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like, spending 60 hours in that game might seem like a bit much to them. As someone who, like, played Origins for 60 hours, I didn't even really start to feel the what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I didn't start to feel the drag until I was about 60 hours, and I was like, I think I've done just about everything I was interested in doing anyway, so this is where I'm going to call it. Like, so I think it also kind of just depends on how the person feels about the game they're reviewing, and like, on a personal level, like, from an enthusiastic, like, their enthusiasm from that perspective.
Sure.
So I hope that answers that question.
Let's move on. Shadow Step asks, if you could change your name, what would it be?
Veronica.
Okay.
No.
Interesting.
Change my name? What would it be?
Herodotus. Oh God. I don't know. It sounds like a strange thing to say, but I've never thought about what my name.
I got Nick.
You're satisfied with Nick?
Nick would change his name to Rex.
Rex.
Sure.
Yeah, right?
Rex Henderson.
That's a real name.
I just don't know if I've ever cared much about what my name is. Right?
I mean, Nick is.
I guess I'm happy with Nick, so I don't really care about changing it.
You're happy with Nick?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with my name. I think it's uncommon enough that I don't often hear people saying my name when it's not referring to me. But I mean, I do like my middle name. So maybe I could. There's definitely been times where I've introduced myself to people as my middle name.
I like my middle name too. Maybe that's the closest I would go with my middle name. Scott. I might change my name. Scat.
Maybe I could be like a Clint.
That's the worst.
Clint. Or like a Derek.
A Derek?
Maybe
Derek's pretty bad.
Maybe if in the Clint the
Derek
L
Simons.
and the I were uppercase and they connected to each other, that'd work for you, Brad.
How about D'Artagnan?
Next question.
Next question from
Gene.
Angel.
Angel?
In parentheses, Windolfer.
Oh, gotcha.
Windolfer.
Yeah. Spooky, scary games often fall under the same genre of video games. Do you think it is possible to create an authentic horror experience in video game genres that aren't represented as much? For example, what would a horror tactics game look like? Ooh. A horror turn-based RPG? Are some genres just impossible to work with in order to make a good, scary experience?
It's just when you switch the genres, people stop considering them to be
scary
horror.
Yeah.
Like RPGs, you have stuff like Bloodborne. If there were no like stats or anything, people would probably call that a horror game, or have been horror like JRPGs. If you look at like Shadow Hearts, that's like straight up.
But those also tend to be like, even though you would call them horror because of the subject matter, I think usually they fall short of actually like scaring people. Or being truly frightening, even though the subject matter is dark.
You're not going to see a lot of
maybe
jump scares, but I mean, horror is not all about jump scares.
I didn't say it is about jump scare. I'm just saying in terms of like
a lot of horror games build their sense of dread off of a lack of resources or a lack of ability on the player's part, so they feel powerless against whatever.
Well, so there's also a difference between horror and thriller.
Yeah,
the thriller aspect, I think, is more of a like kind of. I think when I tend to think of that, I think more a thriller as more of a like that's the kind of jumpy thing, whereas horror, in my opinion, is more of the existential dread, the whole like oh my god, like I think being in the situation or something like that. I think less spooky, more like scary.
I also think there's like a certain like there's. When I think of like true horror in video games, I tend to gravitate towards things that are like truly like that kind of like fully envelop the player, like are very atmospheric. You're very in the moment. You're kind of experiencing things in real time.
But you also see like horror. I guess a lot of us do as like starting at a certain point, right?
Yeah, but
like once you go back to like 8-bit, did horror exist? But then if you look at something like Castlevania. That is a much slower paced, like difficult game, and you're fighting classic horror monsters.
Yeah, but
villains.
But I don't think that would ever frighten me. Like I would never I would never play that and feel the same way I felt playing Resident Evil 7 in VR, or Outlast or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I would never play Castlevania and feel the same way I felt playing Outlast, where I'm literally running for my life and it's dark and it's frightening.
But then it goes back to like. Does something have to be scare you to be horror?
No, that's what I was saying. Like I don't think
because there's like campy horror that doesn't scare you at all, but it's definitely still horror. So is Castlevania still horror?
I'm saying a game can be horror based on the subject matter and not necessarily be frightening.
I think when someone's asking about horror games and specifically how they apply to genre conventions, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to assume that this person asking this question is talking about like a game that would scare you.
Yeah.
And there are, 8-bit, 16-bit 2D games that definitely embrace the more like scary elements of horror than
Doom
something like
scary.
Castlevania.
The original Doom was scary back then.
Yeah.
And that's a very fast-paced first-person shooter.
And you're very much like
I have a hard time.
Chad has a better memory than me.
Personally.
There was a 2D game I played not too long ago. If anyone in chat remembers what it was, and I was in like an apartment complex or something like that, and I was walking around, going into like rooms and like,
Was it The Last Door?
I'm not sure.
That's just what I was thinking of as far as
Lone Survivor. Maybe
that was a higher profile one for sure.
Maybe that's an example of like kind of
2D Silent
Hill. 2D Silent Hill kind of esque. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's kind of an example. It's definitely possible to not have to do like the 3D kind of jump scare type stuff.
And Castlevania does deal with horror stuff, but like you play that game as a vampire hunter. You're like a guy who's like.
I think
prepared for this situation.
I think things like Limbo and even Inside could be considered horror.
Yeah, but again, we're kind of getting away from the spirit of this question, anyways.
I mean, to answer the question, I think it's possible, but
horror RTS.
I think yes, I think you could do that, especially if you had some sort of element to the game where it wasn't obvious that it was a horror game at first, and then that stuff started like creeping in. I mean, think like with an RTS, just off the top of my head, something like Valkyria Chronicles, where you've got like a strategy game where you're moving units around a battlefield, but then when you move them, you actually have to like take that unit's perspective. Like that stuff could be like if you set that in like a horror environment, it's not really any different than playing an action game in a horror setting, You could make that stuff scary if you kind of think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those products
it's mostly a matter of presentation.
And that shit could be really exciting. Anyways.
Let's move on. And yes, the game I was thinking of was Lone Survivor. Zolkron asked a question that I'm pretty sure we've answered multiple times in the past. It was essentially if you could take a game or franchise and implement a mechanic from another game or franchise, how would you do it? We've definitely answered that before
several
times in the past.
Nemesis system in Assassin's Creed.
There you go.
There
sure.
we go. That would be cool.
All right, next question from Zero Skies. What non-horror game spooked you? Was it a spooky submission, a character you met, or simply a random moment of horror?
Ravenholm and Half-Life 2.
But Half-Life is almost like a horror game.
Half-Life can be.
It is kind of fucking intense.
Every Half-Life I've played has, like, head crabs in the original are fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
The enemies are called zombies. I mean,
It's pretty spooky.
I always mention this. The final chapter of Uncharted really freaks me the fuck out. Where you're being chased through the submarine by the
But I mean,
weird...
that is a horror twist.
That whole segment is definitely, if no one here has played Uncharted, it is essentially what was the Will Smith movie?
Fuck! Oh god!
I Am Legend.
Yes.
It essentially turns into fucking I Am
You're
Legend.
trapped in a fucking submarine, like a sunken submarine.
It wasn't a submarine. It was an underground like bunker base,
yeah.
and there are I Am Legend-esque enemies, and it is
chasing
scary
you down dark
as
hallways.
fuck.
And you're just running.
It
shooting
is
behind
scary
you.
as fuck.
Fallout has a lot of stuff gets spooky.
I think any
in Fallout New Vegas, that one you have to go into that fucking factory with the stealth boys and all the super mutants are invisible. Fuck that.
I'll say that I've been. Classic Tomb Raider can be quite scary, especially because
about the butler.
There's not I mean, like fucking sure, like when you're in that hedge maze and you can hear the fucking shit, you hear the
tray,
the tea tray or whatever. It's scary, but in those levels too. I mean, there's no like setup for stuff popping out in those games. It's a bear just comes at you with little to no warning. Like that can be like quite scary just because they're very you're very isolated. It's very atmospheric. I mean, that's kind of all you need to get scared, really. So.
Absolutely, the Stalker series.
Yeah, I mean, but I would almost say though that's
kind of a horror.
There's a little bit of a horror element to it.
Isn't Stalker like a survival?
Yeah,
it's more survival, but there are horror elements to it.
It always looks scarier,
especially certain missions in there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of games I think that when it comes to like something surprising you. There's so many games where it's like you turn around and all of a sudden a character's there and you just didn't expect them to be there. It doesn't not even trying to be a jump scare. It's just sometimes when like there's kind of like a tense moment going on.
Somebody mentioned
Fallout's a good example. If you turn around and your companion's like right fucking there and you didn't know they were gonna be and you're like, oh, what the fuck?
Somebody mentioned Ocarina of Time and I immediately thought of like the well. Going into the well in Kakariko Village always kind of creeped me the fuck out.
Yeah.
The Re-Deads or whatever they're called.
Re-Deads are always
Haunted
fucking
Majora's
scary.
Mask game.
Yeah. Let's move on to the final question this evening from Jeroz. What abandoned game project, e.g. Ghost, would you like to see be picked up and by which studio?
StarCraft Ghost. By anybody.
Skybound by Platinum Games. I mean... Do I have to find a publisher?
No, just the games. I mean,
self-published.
Well,
Scalebound. Bring it
I
back.
feel like it's gonna be
that,
obvious.
man.
Like Silent Hills for fucking 100,000%.
Yeah.
Wait, what? What'd you say?
StarCraft Ghost, but like by some studio like Rocksteady. That could be cool.
But the crazy thing about Silent Hills is you really never even knew what that game actually was going to be.
I know, and that was, but like that is absolutely
that was
what
kind of
makes
the
it
point.
exciting.
That's why it's
Yeah.
amazing because it's just whatever we imagined it was.
Yeah.
it was gonna be Death Stranding.
Wait, did you skip Brucey the Wizard's question because it's pretty good?
When did he ask it?
Like 6:03 today.
I don't.
I
see
have it
on-
right here.
Then he deleted it because it's not on.
Well, I'm gonna ask anyway.
Well, hold on. Answer his question for the last question first.
Oh, I did. Silent Hills.
Well, I guess Nolan didn't answer it.
For me, it's one of the ones I would say is it's kind of not like it canceled so much as there was a Cowboy Bebop game that never got released in the States, and maybe almost like a remake of that. Like, and it's kind of like a bounty hunter-esque kind of game in space.
Pray
Pray to.
Kind of like Prey 2.
I was
but-
gonna bring up
That's
the
the one, though.
but more like jazzy kind of, like Bebop.
But how about just Prey 2?
Oh yes, I would get Pride. Yes, I would love to
How
see
about
Prey
Prey 2, a game. The makers of Prey 2 are coming out with a game very soon. The Quiet Man.
Oh,
Oh God, really?
Yep, that's from the makers of Prey 2.
Wow.
Okay. How about the Aliens RPG from Obsidian? I would have loved to see what that.
For sure,
There is concept art and even I think a video like a demo of that game that.
How about Iga's Symphony of the Night 2, which got canceled for Lords of Shadow?
Oh, that sucks.
That hurts. Yeah. That hurts my soul.
Yeah, it fucking
I didn't really know that was a thing.
Yeah, that's a real fucking thing.
I got an easy one for you right here. Star Wars 1313, Naughty Dog.
There we go. Yeah, that would have been great. Would have been great.
Chris?
All right.
He just didn't.
He just didn't take it off.
Back in the PS2 era, there was a developer working on a Stargate SG-1 game,
Okay.
and it got canceled. But let's take that and let's give it to Firaxis to make an XCOM game, and that would be fucking awesome.
I can see that being cool. I don't know anything about Stargate. That could be cool.
I'm just gonna preface Nick's question with it doesn't exist. So whatever Nick's about to say,
I'm reading
he's
it right
making
now
up.
from Brucey the Wizard. I don't know why he would have deleted it. It's pretty good. He says, if you could give the person to your left a not-so-superpower, what would it be? Bonus points if it fits that person's character. I'd give Brad the ability to walk through some walls.
I would give Nick the ability to tell left from right.
Right? That's not your left.
No, this is his question. I'm reading his question still.
No, I know. You said the person on your left and Brad's on your fucking right, dude.
I'm reading his question. He's giving an example. I'm reading his question.
Brucey,
Literally, he said,
Brad's not on your left.
No, you're saying that because you fucking made this whole question up.
I will fight you. He says, I would give Brad the ability to walk through some walls. Likelihood of success increases with speed of travel, but is never guaranteed. Or I would give Chris Davis the ability to fly at walking speed.
Overland flight. That's not bad, actually. Yeah, That's like a fourth level spell.
Wouldn't you just call that hovering?
Fine. Huh?
Wouldn't you just call that hovering?
No, levitation's a second level spell, I think. So you gotta be at least level, what, 4 or 5 to do that?
Why do I want to give Nick a superpower?
I would give
a
Brad
not-so-superpower?
the ability to poop without making a sound.
Like no matter how hard.
You don't know that he doesn't already poop very
It's just
stealthily.
completely silent.
Based on how loud
But
he
like the water doesn't even
Yeah,
make
that's
any
what I'm saying.
noise.
No splash, no nothing, just silence.
It's called the ninja.
based on how loud
the
he
ninja
pees,
deuce.
I would be willing to bet he's not a quiet pooper.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's why he slams the toilet seat so that we all know he's in there, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to hear him.
I would give Crispy the power to read minds, but he could read minds, but like the person would always know.
I would
their mind is
kill
being read.
myself if I could read other people's minds. I would kill myself.
And they would always know their minds being read.
Like the person whose mind you're reading would know instantly that their mind's being read.
That's pretty good. I would. You know what?
That's even
I'd
better.
take
you
that.
could really like
I'd take
manipulate a situation.
I'd take that.
You know, I was thinking like if we could come up with like a serious. Can you imagine if like just his like using his examples? Like, can you imagine a TV show about a group of kids with like superpowers, but that was their like? Imagine how funny that would be.
Nolan,
that would be so good.
I'm gonna give you one.
All right, I'm ready.
Seems kind of lame, but is actually gonna save your life.
My body's ready.
You can extrude pasta from your nose. Out of nowhere.
Could I just go right into my mouth with it?
You could. You would never starve to death because you'd always have pasta
That's a lot of carbs.
just coming out of your nose.
Wow.
But like when you get sick, it would really suck.
What kind of pasta is it? Like
mean-
linguine, fettuccine?
No, it's like
Rotini?
It's like a linguine that comes out.
Okay, linguine.
Yeah, but it's uncooked. So I mean, I guess
Oh,
you
what
would.
the fuck? You're talking about like the stiff? Like,
No, that's packaged pasta. I'm talking about fresh pasta.
Yeah, like fresh pasta.
oh, I don't know. I don't know. What's
I got
fresh
Nick's
pasta?
superpower. I got Nick's
Oh, God.
superpower. You have the superpower to grow an inch whenever you like, but you lose an inch from your penis.
Oh,
So Nick could grow like 2 inches?
yeah, he can only.
But it could go the other way.
Oh.
You can suck your penis up inside yourself.
Could you imagine like
No.
a 3-foot Nick with like a...
Wait, does that count? Does that count part of the spongioform that's like inside his body as part of the length of his
But
penis?
listen,
Good question.
Because like half the length of your dick is actually inside your body.
but after, a month with the ability to kind of go back and forth however you like, you have to make a permanent decision at the end of that month.
I feel like it would just end up right back at my base level
I feel like Nick would just be like 4 feet tall.
for the rest of my life.
Well, you get to try it out. You get to see.
Could you imagine just like standing next to Nick and he's just like...
Robin's not one of those girls that likes to date dudes that are taller than her, is she?
You know,
No,
what
because-
would be
after that?
She is taller than me by about.
Could you imagine
A fourth
like
of an inch.
like a 1 foot Nick with like just like
Just dragging a penis between his legs.
I think at the end of the month it would be kind of funny because whatever he decides, he's probably going to try to play it off.
Yeah.
Like he's like a couple inches shorter, but hoping we don't notice. You know what I mean? Or like he's a couple inches taller, like maybe he always wanted to be, but he's like real ashamed.
Wait, are his balls affected by this?
No, his balls
They just stay the same size.
Wait, they stay the same size.
Do like erections count or something? Like if Nick got all boned up, would we see him like getting shorter? Like,
No, that's not how this works. It is a trade-off.
All right. Anyway,
No, I didn't say Robin is taller by a foot. Robin is taller than me by like a.
she
quarter
will
inch.
be though. All right, that's all the questions we have from patrons this week. Thank you to all of our patrons for asking those questions. Once again, like Nick mentioned earlier, all you got to do to ask us any question you want is go to patreon.com/4player and become a patron of at least $1 or more.
At least $1. If you throw in an extra $2, you get potentially be a supporter spotlight in the future.
If
If you are so inclined.
if Robin made that decision, what
Oh
do you think it would
no!
be?
Don't ask that question.
Oh, don't! You don't want her answer.
No, I don't. No,
Wait,
like,
hold on, Brad.
That would say a lot about how she
Does
feels
this
about
affect
you.
girth too, or
No, it's
just
just
length?
But like the shitty thing is like,
Oh God!
if we had all these powers and then you asked Robin that,
it's
I'd be like,
proportional growth. Like it gets longer and wider in the same time.
I can see the
Or maybe
scene right
he's
now.
got, like, a really
I can see
good-
the scene right now. We're all in our room. We all have these powers. Brad asks Robin if she had to make the decision, what would she decide? I would say, don't answer that, and then you would just see Crispy go, oh no.
I don't know what's worse, like a little 3-foot Nick and a happy Robin, or like a 6-foot Nick and a happy Robin. Like what?
She doesn't. She already doesn't care that he's short, obviously. So
Wow.
Oh, okay.
I am sitting right here. Holy shit.
Sorry, I'm sorry for bringing Robin into this. I barely had a conversation with her.
she's
I
a
feel
lovely
terrible.
human being. She
Yeah.
doesn't deserve any.
I'm
of
sorry.
this.
She doesn't
Poor,
listen to
poor
this
Jason
crap,
Todd.
though. Even if she does, she probably doesn't make it this far, right? I mean, who does?
Oh, no. Wait, what? Did you say?
Just saying.
God
Oh,
damn
let's
you.
wrap this shit up.
Let's wrap this show with the 4-player minute.
Damien's waiting at home.
Brad, hit us up. Hype, sweat, thank you, or fuck you. You know how it works.
Okay, yes. My thank you is going to go to the new Swery game. I'm going to give it to Swery for, you know, it's actually getting pretty fucking good reviews, man.
Getting pretty dank out there?
He did that really, it's like a weird side scroller that came out of nowhere that he threw together like in a couple months. I don't know when he's been working on this, but you know, I admire him for keeping at it. I like that developer, even though he's not always made like the most amazing shit. You know, I felt real bad when D4 got canceled, and you know, I'm glad that this game came out and that it's actually doing pretty well. Thanks, Swery, for keeping it weird. And this game looks fucking weird. And for, you know, kind of sticking in there. My hype goes for
Sticking in there?
keeping at it, sticking in there. In the, you know,
Sticking it
I
up.
think you meant to say sticking with it. You said sticking in there.
keep it hanging in there, sticking with it, keeping it up.
Getting jiggy with it.
Whatever the fuck, Swery. Thanks, man. We need weird ass games.
it to the man.
So I'm glad you're here making weird ass games.
What is this one called?
It's called Missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got a longer name, I think, but yeah, Missing. My hype is for Tetris Effect, which comes out in November. I'm very excited about Tetris Effect.
Shit.
Anything from Mizuguchi is just like this. It just washes over you. I can't fucking wait. And everything I've heard for people who've tried it at events is it's kind of like transcendent.
I tried so hard to play that at E3, but Sony keeps
it was
doing
at
that
E3.
stupid app shit.
So like my roommate's birthday was the first of the month, and I was like, I'm gonna buy because he just got a PSVR, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy you a bunch of VR games for your birthday. Just let me know which ones you want. And like the other day, he's like, Yo, have you heard of this Tetris Effect?
Yeah.
I'm like,
There's a specifically a PSVR like anniversary sale going on PSN right now, so check it out. There's a lot of PSVR games on sale. My fuck you for this week continues to go to me into GameFly and everything because I've been wanting to play this Astrobot game that people with PSVR can't shut up about. It is now the highest rated VR game ever.
And again, you forgot to remind me to bring it.
Well, I mean, I still don't have the game, so it doesn't matter.
It's like a $40 game.
Yeah, it's like a $40 game, which is why I haven't bought it because I don't really kind of have the money for it. But I really want to play it. It's now very low availability from GameFly, so who knows when they'll actually send it to me. But I really, really want to play that. Fuck me for not planning ahead better for that game. My sweat goes to me. I found out a few days ago that Front Mission, their mechs, the Front Mission mechs, there's figurines for those. There's figures that aren't like crazy expensive. They're sub 100 and they look amazing. And now that I know these exist, I'm really worried for myself. So that's my sweat because I think I'm gonna get one somehow, some way.
Sorry, Henry, you can't go to college.
Well, again, yeah. And my shameful secret is that this past weekend or whatever, I purchased a Overwatch figurine that was on clearance, but it was a pretty good deal. And I know I've never really played Overwatch, even a second of it.
Was it pretty thick?
Why'd you buy it, Brad?
It was on clearance.
Why did you buy it, Brad?
He'd be a fool not to. It was on sale.
It was a Ninja. Hold on.
Is it thick? With 2 C's.
No. Well, it's a Nindoroid. I mean, they're all thick. It's
but like not in a good way.
It's like super high quality. Like I have a Wind Waker one, and it's like really good quality. That's why I ended up buying it. They're usually like $50, but this was on clearance for 15. So I was like, I know it's Overwatch. I've never played it, but one day I might actually play this game and really regret not making this purchase. But even no, I mean, they're just really nice figurines. So I went ahead and bought one. But I feel a little bad because I've made fun of Overwatch people in the past, mostly just because they're fucking horny and they want to fuck all those characters. But now
who doesn't?
I have a little figurine to fuck if I so choose.
Which character?
You told me May. The one with the
May's
glasses.
Bay?
Snow Ice Lady.
Oh, gotcha.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's a Nindoroid.
Nindroid?
That's not what they're called.
Nindroid?
All right. Nolan?
My 4-player minute starts now. My hype actually is for Astrobot. I got my PSVR hooked up and going the other day, and I haven't started it yet. Yeah.
You have it?
Well, not yet. I'm just gonna download it on PSN.
But there's a physical disc. What
is?
Could pass it around.
I guess so.
Let's just buy a copy of Astrobot.
All right.
I'll pick it up from somewhere tomorrow on my way home from work.
Fuck you.
Just because I just really wanted to get back in my VR.
Check out that PSN sale.
Which leads to my think. It's not on sale on PSN, and I already looked at their VR stuff. Not too much is on sale.
Oh,
at least that I don't already have, or that I, you know what I'm saying. I'll double check, but I don't think there is. My think leads into another VR game, which is the Rick and Morty virtual reality from Alchemy Labs. I got that not too long ago because it was on like sale, and honestly, one of the main reasons I bought it was because it comes with a poster that's like The Last of Us. Anyway, I booted it up the other day, and I had a fucking fantastic moment with me and Bernadette. I was playing the game, and it comes to a point where it's like, oh, this thing broke. You got to order another one on the computer. There's a computer behind you, and when I turn around, like a wall lifts up, and there's a computer screen, and there's all these like pop-ups. So I go start clicking them to like close them, but they're not closing. And he's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? It's not a touchscreen. The mouse is on the like desk in front of you. And it's just like one of those things where it's like you're in VR. Like, why would you not think it's a touchscreen?
That's hilarious.
But it's like I just was fucking.
They got ya.
Yeah, they got me good.
I
was
zinger.
Me and Burnett were fucking just laughing.
You got me.
My sweat goes to Assassin's Creed Rogue. I was not. I don't know. For some reason, Odyssey was not doing it for me. Everything, I haven't played it yet, but I kind of wanted some Assassin's Creed up in me. So I own Rogue. I never played it, so I booted it up, and I'm maybe like 5 or 6 hours in, and I'm
enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it, man.
Cool.
Like,
talk about it next week. I've always wanted to know about it.
I might. I'll let me get a little more into it. But yeah. And then my fuck you is going to go to
What are
11
you playing that on, by the way?
PC.
PC.
11-bit Studios for all the fucking Frostpunk shit they're putting me through, all the stress. I'm fucking going crazy, my heart racing just with all the crap I gotta go through every time I play Frostpunk, but I fucking love it at the same time. But still, fuck you. And also, they scared me because I couldn't save glitch. But I got that worked out. But anyway.
Startled me.
Yeah, they did.
Alright, my hype is an unconventional one this week.
Oh, God.
God, here it goes. I'm gonna go rent the new Call of Duty.
Wow.
Oh.
And I hope that Battle Royale mode is worth leaving Fortnite for. We'll see. I'm kind of hyped, though.
You're trying to wean yourself off of Fortnite by playing
I'm not
Call of Duty?
weaning myself off. I'm just, like, trying to, find what's new and different. Plus, the people I play Fortnite with are playing that, so whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm kind of excited, though. Could be cool.
It could be.
You never know. You never
It
fucking
could be.
know. My sweat is that I'm worried that I'm not gonna finish a lot of games.
Oh yeah, how many more battles of Valkyria Chronicles did you play?
Oh, I've only got like 2 or 3 more, and then I'm done with the game.
Look at this fucking
No, I meant
video game police
I
over
meant
here.
since last week.
No, that was a fucking lie. I haven't touched that game. I don't know. Like Valkyria Chronicles, Assassin's Creed, of the recent batch. I'm
So your
worried about.
great generalizations about the
Well-
balance in that game is going to stand.
Yeah. Yep. My self-asserted biases will go uncontested. That's not true. I'm not
They
saying
are.
I'm not gonna play it. I'm just worried that I'm not gonna get to the end of it by the end of the year. Dude, I'm still like every once in a while throwing in Yakuza 0. Like I'm still chipping away at Yakuza 0.
Just play what you won't play.
Like I'm still
we
playing
wanna
catch
play
up from
everything.
last year.
We want to play everything, Nick.
But
How about
It's-
we push back
it's oppressive.
Game of the Year awards
Until
Say,
June.
like March?
February 1st?
No, let's
at
not do Game of the Year
earliest.
this year. Let's just do Game of the Year in 2020 and do Game of the
Ooh.
Decade.
Interesting.
Chris, I know it will like you'll have to wait a little longer, but like those videos would be amazing.
I say we do it like the Oscars. No Game of the Year stuff in January. February
There you
at the
go.
earliest.
My fuck you for this week goes to that goddamn bathtub in Eternal Darkness. Fuck that. That was like a legit spook.
Was Carlos all quiet and like snickering?
Yeah, I
waiting for it to
didn't
happen?
realize why he was being so subdued, and then it happened. And fuck.
What a bitch.
But my thank you goes to Carlos, not only for coming over and doing a stream with me, which I always have a lot of fun doing, but also for introducing me to Eternal Darkness, which I am enjoying much.
By the way, today is Carlos's birthday, so
Yes,
if you
and
haven't
he's an old man.
sent him some
It's like 52.
messages.
Well,
maybe
it's going to be
you
his
should.
birthday for another
Somebody,
15 minutes.
y'all need to
Yeah.
flood
Hurry.
Carlos's Twitter
15
inbox
minutes.
with
Yeah.
mentions.
Trust me, he would go like every one of his tweets. He'd do the same thing to
Send
you.
him a bunch of these.
You would fucking report half of my tweets.
He wouldn't like every one of your tweets. Excuse me, but Carlos is famous for his like bombing campaigns.
Someone says subscribe to Carlos's Patreon, and then cancel.
Dude, he showed me his Patreon balance earlier, and it's a little like absurd. Like,
Wait, are you serious?
I swear to God, he was like, "Yo, look at this." I'm like, "No."
Oh man.
But the good thing is he never promised to deliver anything. So
Oh man, maybe we should model our campaign after.
Let's see how much he's getting a month. Carlos gonna go to jail
if
for
you open it for 7 years and promise to do nothing and do nothing,
he gets $10 a month just for doing nothing.
Yeah, but does he pay taxes on it?
well, I don't think he's ever withdrawn.
I think he could
from it.
afford it.
I don't think he's ever pulled anything out of that account. So like when he started it, it's been a slow trickle.
Oh my fucking god! All right,
Jesus,
are you done with your 4-player minute?
that's it.
All right. My hype this week goes to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm very much enjoying that game. I think this is what I was trying to remember earlier. One thing that kind of surprises me, because they were working on this while working on Origins. They had 2 different teams working on it and split the difference, obviously. And the games end up being very similar. Obviously, they obviously had communication with each other to make sure the games feel very similar. But I was surprised that I think Odyssey is the less polished game between the two. But with that said, I'm still really enjoying it, and the world is actually, like I said, I wasn't super thrilled about Greece, but like it's definitely kind of got its hooks in me, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm
polished. You're not the first person who said that.
I mean, it's a huge open world game. It's an Assassin's Creed game. Of course, there's going to be bugs, but like, I'm not even talking about bugs. Like, I just feel like the facial animations, like the character animations, like in cutscenes and stuff, is not quite as good. I feel like the characters are a little bit stiffer. Sometimes like moments that are supposed to be kind of impactful in the story kind of fall flat because they don't animate as well.
The delivery isn't as good.
Yeah, the delivery just doesn't seem as good. But in some cases, like there's the one I mentioned earlier, the scene with the goat, which I thought was fantastic. But like, not
is that
all
legal in anywhere but Greece?
No. But
you know what, Nick? Here's the thing they can do for that.
It's just inconsistent.
Just zoom the camera out a little bit. They get pretty fucking zoomed in on these faces. Look at the older Assassin's Creed games. The camera was like 4 feet from their face.
Yeah.
It looks a lot better when you can't see.
But like I feel
all
like
the
Origins, for all intents and purposes, was a really well animated. Like artistically speaking, aesthetically speaking, was really, really well done.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a few steps back. But there's also a few steps forward in other areas, and I think it's great. So I'm really looking forward to it, to play more, and I'm probably going to sink another 40 hours or so into that game. So my sweat goes to Visage, which someone in Discord brought up earlier this week. It's a spiritual successor to like PT, but with a little bit more involved. It's a little bit more puzzle solving aspects to it, I suppose. It's in early access, I believe, but if you buy it, you get the first chapter is complete and available to play. And I'm planning on picking that up. I might try and do it on the stream at some point. I got to see how long it is because I'd like to do it maybe next week before my Resident Evil stream. But if it's going to take like the whole night, I'd rather make more progress in Resident Evil. We'll see. But I'm scared to play it because, you know, there's been a bunch of these like PT spiritual successors that have popped up, and they've all looked horrifying. So I'm a little worried about it. My thank you goes to Crispy for telling me about the Scream Master Pancake last week. I got my tickets. I'm going tomorrow night. So Crispy, I'll see you tomorrow.
He's gonna pretend like he doesn't know me.
I am gonna pretend like I don't know Crispy, but I'm so excited to see that Master Pancake. I haven't watched that movie in a while.
Those guys are so fucking funny.
And it's one of my favorite movies, so I'm pretty excited.
You know, John Earler, like the main dude who does that, is a writer on MST3K now.
Really?
Yeah.
The one with
the big tall bald guy.
No, I mean that was the one they rebooted.
Oh
it, right?
yeah, the Return.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he did the last season, and he's a writer on the. He's like head writer. For
You know,
those
he
guys.
follows me on Twitter.
Does he really?
We're kind of BFFs.
Bitch.
And my fuck you of the week goes to the video game police over here. Brad poking the bear.
Poking the bear. You're the one who said this yourself. I just was checking in with you.
Yeah, dude.
He said I'm going to do a battle of Valkyria.
And you know what?
Every day.
You know what happened? I took
You started playing a game you actually like.
No, I love Valkyria Chronicles 4. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. The problem is I ended up not having I thought I was gonna have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and just play have a really just lazy video game weekend. I didn't really get to play anything on Saturday at all. I got maybe an hour of gaming in on Saturday. We started remodeling our bathroom and stuff, and just lost track of time, and then we had to go do this and that, and it just never came to pass until 10 o'clock at night. I was like, I'm finally gonna sit down and play a game. So I lost a day's worth of time that I was hoping to sink into games. So I spent the next 2 days trying to make up that time that I thought I missed playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So yeah, I didn't really get to sink any time into Valkyria Chronicles. And you know what? I've dedicated this coming Sunday, to streaming Dead Space 2 with Robin on the stream. So I'm going to do that. That'll be fun, but that's a day I'm not going to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And then the week after that, we're doing our Halloween event on Saturday. That's a day I'm not going to be playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Nick, your 4-player minutes going.
I've got so much shit intervening that I'm worried I'm not going to finish this before Red Dead, but I got to fucking finish this before Red Dead. I've got to do it. So I'm a little worried.
All right.
Anyways, that's it. That's our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. 4playernetwork.com is, of course, the website. You can find all of our podcasts there. You can also find us on Spotify, on SoundCloud, on Stitcher, all that good stuff, on iTunes. Check that shit out. Find us on Discord at discord.gg/4player. Big shout out to Kay and Cito for being our supporter spotlight for October. We'll read more feedback from him on next week's episode. And, of course, we'll be back next Thursday night for another episode. We'll talk about more video games and shit.
That's
so
true.
join
That's
us
a
next
fact.
week on twitch.tv/4player podcast or 4pp.tv. We'll be here. We'll be talking about video games. Good night.
Bye.